All right, looks like we're live, gentlemen. So, hello, YouTube. For anybody who's watching or any return viewers, this is going to be game two of Fantasy Age Ordo Silva in the homebrew world that I've been working on at Zeldrin. I've got some returning players and a few new additions as well. I'll go down the line and let them introduce themselves, plug anything that they want to plug, and we'll get right into it. I'll start with who is directly to my left, which is Nicholas.
Hey, how you doing? I'm Nicholas. I'm playing Cassiel, the Averial Mage. I don't have anything to plug, so maybe you should stop by the Tabletop RPG One-Shop group for gaming and lulz.
All right, fantastic. And next is Marco.
Hey, how you guys? I'm Marco. I'm playing Tamak, the Umik, which is Centaurian Lion, and I hope we have a lot of fun like we did last time.
Fantastic. And next in line is Mr. Philip Posey.
Hi, Internet. My name is Philip Posey, and today I'll be playing Azazel. And he is a shifter warrior pirate who will be flying in skies near you in this game.
Fantastic. And next, Lloyd Collins.
Hello, I am Lloyd. I run the channel Girl DM, and I'll be playing Barahil, who is a Avarial warrior badass.
All right, and last but certainly not least, Mr. Andrew Knapp.
Hey guys, Andrew Knapp here. I'm going to be playing Thalanor, who is a Dampier artist.
Awesome. So as some of you might recall, when last we left off, you guys found yourselves in a woods and encountered some peculiar creatures, perhaps oddities to say the least. It didn't quite go perhaps as planned, but you managed to pick up a few of these things, or Cassiel managed to pick up a few of these things, and you guys made your way back to the Guild Hall. So at this point, prior to sunbreak, come morning time, if there's anything that you guys may have done that you want to, play out before you went to bed, you're welcome to do that.
Sure. So Thalanor, at the end of the last game, opened up his golden pocket watch and looked at the time face on that, and had commented that he had another date that eve. After he got back and freshened up, it was a very pleasant evening, windows open, winds blowing through the silken curtains. The maiden consort Sidonia once again graced him with her presence, and he uncorked her like a sweet bottle of wine, tasting once again that red, velvety liquid, and once again 2 gold coin pieces into her hand, closing it up and showing her the door. "What are you doing here, Sidonia? You know the routine. Get out." Once again, screaming and crying, she runs out of the door, through the halls of the guild hall, back out into the forest that's beneath Kenthar. He also, during the night, shined up one of his blades, almost ceremoniously, like he's planning on having a duel or something the next day. And in a very harrowing sight, with the camera aimed at the mirror, you see the sword just dancing around with no one wielding it, sparkling as a rag scuffs out the tarnished marks, polishes the pommel and the wire guard, and you know something bad's going to happen on the morrow.
All right, fantastic. What about Cassiel? Is there a chance of anything that she did the night before?
She actually is moving from her hidey hole far up into the tree to that little dusty study she found in the upper layers of the upper levels of the the guild hall, the abandoned one where she found the history and times of Kenthara and the Ordo Silva. And she spends the evening cleaning up like the inches of dust and cobwebs and making it cozy. She's decided to make that her study since there is a desk and a chair. On it already is piled her books, her grimoire, and that new book she found, along with some of her writings and a handful of the clockwork hornets, which she has been looking at, but only managed to get them to like wiggle a little bit as she studied them. Then she goes to sleep.
Fantastic. And what about Tomak? Or what is he doing, if anything?
Last, when we ended the session, Tomak was just running and like kind of getting out after being not used to being stuck inside all the time. So after this long run of maybe getting closer to dark, maybe around like 11 o'clock or so, where it's starting to get really dark, he does come back to the guild hall, and he does make his bed on the floor. Not used to sleeping in beds. He just kind of piles up blankets and everything as he would if it was hay, if you will, and he conks out.
Fantastic. So day breaks. You can hear the birds chirping in the trees. The beams of sunlight are piercing into this large hollowed-out tree, lancing through, plumes of dust. You guys begin to hear a bit of racket as some of the guild members are rising and moving around. What you've kind of become familiar with is a rather cheery tune, followed by the constant ruckus of pots and pans clanking as the cook goes about making the breakfast meal. So what is it that you all find yourself doing now?
I walk over to the wall and slowly remove from a peg my ornate black jacket with my gold buttons and ornamentation. I start to put it on one sleeve at a time, and as I do, I think to myself, sleep does not take me like normal beings. The hunger of mine is different. This breakfast thing, I don't think I'll ever become accustomed to it, but why not go down and dine on empty plates and drink from empty glasses? Let's give the people a show. So I straighten out, as has become accustomed, and I walk out the door and head to breakfast.
Not knowing where his next meal is, often used to hunting in the morning and everything, the smell of breakfast and whatever the cook is cooking kind of wakes Tamak up, and in fact he jumps up a little bit. After his run, he realized he didn't eat anything. He wasn't really eating anything all of the last days into excursions, and as a big Centaurian lion, he's normally having like a couple meals like within 2 or 3 hours from each other. He beelines it right for the door and he heads down to breakfast.
Cassiel awakes to a beam of light coming in through a window right on her face, her silvery hair sparkling in the sunlight. She kind of wakes with a start, a book on her chest again. A common occurrence these days. She tosses it off. She looks out beside her window. There seems to be a mauled squirrel just sitting there. She kind of smirks to herself as she picks it up by its tail with her 2 fingers and tosses it out the window. And then she follows, stepping onto the window sill and jumping out herself, her wings spreading as she lowers herself to the ground. It's the quickest way to the hall proper. And she would meet everyone for breakfast.
So as you grab the squirrel, Cassiel, and kind of toss it out. You hear uh, a disembodied voice of sorts in your head, sounding almost wounded, like, "Ah, you would throw out gifts presented to you. How rude. How very, very rude indeed, silly girl."
I don't know what you want me to do with it.
What's a gift? Anything but throw it out.
Well, keep that in mind, wherever you are. And she looks around before jumping out the window.
You do well, too. So, you all do find yourself in the mess hall. There's like a skeleton crew of individuals in there. The roster for the guild hall is not at all, what it used to be. You don't see any of the nobles that you have noticed around. They seem to, come mostly as just treating this place as a retreat, someplace to get away for a time. Uh, there's a wiry fellow with a stained apron, slick back hair, kind of greasy. You suspect that the grease is not something that he puts in his hair to keep it styled, but just a mess of lard and whatnot from the food that he's been cooking. And there's a big fire blazing, pots back there with something bubbling around in it, bits of things. Can't really tell if it's chunks, just kind of floating and popping around. And he just continues to sing this awkward, cheery tune. And as you guys enter, he hoists his ladle up and gives you, a nod of acknowledgement. He says, "Ah, it's going to be delicious today. I'll tell you what, going to be delicious. Got some new spices. Mm-hmm."
Valinor thinks to himself, sometimes not needing to eat isn't such a bad thing. And he goes over and sits down at this table. There's a little bit of a breeze coming through a crack in one of the windows, and knowing how nasty and disgusting some of these so-called guild members are, he's going to sit upwind from them because he doesn't want to catch a scent of the working man's peril. So he will sit down and very daintily, taking one leg and folding it over the other, lean back and just start fidgeting with this nobleman's ring that he won in a game of fake court, appreciating the deed he had done only 2 nights before.
Smock smelling this, what smells like makeshift grub that the cook has prepared for us. He joyously is like, "Ah, good," and he just grabs a hold of a plate of it, and he just asks, he before going back to the table where Thalanor went, he asks for more.
You finish that plate, you can come up and get seconds. You know the routine.
He sighs to the side and he's like, "Fair enough," and he shoots down. He doesn't sit like on the side next to the table. He sits at the head of the table and he just kind of like crouches, putting his knees on the floor, keeping his body like to where the table would probably be up to his chest as he puts his hands on the table and he starts going down on the scrub.
Ah, Tamak. Good morning.
"Good morning, my friend. How are you? How was your night?"
Frightfully restless as he fidgets with the ring. So, have you given any more thought to our fair maiden Vivian? And he shoots you a smile.
You can't help but to just smile back, hearing thoughts of seducing Vivian. It's like, she is a feisty one. If I could, not much thought. Last night I had to keep to myself. I had a nice run, and then I came back to sleep. Sorry that your night was restless. Did your date go well?
It went swimmingly.
That's fantastic to hear.
You know what they say
Cassiel,
about the women of Kinthar? Firecrackers.
Cassiel enters the dining hall. She's walking up to the table where Thalnar and Tomek are seated. You see her. She stretches, and her 16-foot wingspan stretch too. You notice it knocks the plate out of one snooty noble's hands. She doesn't even pay attention to it. Her tunic and breeches they're kind of like, you see that she's kind of dusty. She approaches the table. Good morning to you.
You can feel like a venomous glare, like almost daggers being bored in the back of your head, Cassio. And he does kind of, chortle at you. He says, "Well, such a magnificent specimen, you lack manners. Disgraceful."
She looks over her shoulder before addressing Thalon and Tomak, but she doesn't say anything. She just looks back at them. Good morning. I'm afraid I must look dreadful.
Not at all. Good morning, my winged friend. How are you?
Dreadful. What a quip.
My
You know, Cassia, that Order of Adventuring Stone is supposed to be here any day now. I could start commissioning your statue immediately.
So soon. But Thalon, we just met.
I am a admirer of beauty. When I can help it, not from afar. And meeting an angel such as you, it's just begging for me to reveal it in the stone. Would you not be flattered by a grand monument in front of the guild hall?
Her cheeks flush a bit, and you see she kind of hides behind her long silvery hair. And after an awkward silence, she says, "Well, this food leaves much to be desired, and I could use a bath. You guys meet me in the square in Kenthar? Maybe in an hour. I have to go pick up some things at the temple."
Of course. Oh, I want to point out too, Cassiel, that this time when you meet Thalanor, you see the distinct shadow of a man sitting on a chair, casting off of him onto the floor.
Additionally, if you do partake in the food, it's like a chunky gruel that seems to have some type of meaty flavor to it, and you may suspect that this new seasoning is what's giving it the meat flavor, not the chunks of whatever's in it.
Yeah, she doesn't even touch it. Since she touched base with Thalon and Tomak, she goes back to her study, grabs the handful of clockwork hornets, her grimoire, straps on her ancient longsword that she can't really use yet, and she's going to go, do her morning oblations at the temple, bathe, put on some fresher clothes, and eat the finery they have there as opposed to this gruel.
Okay. So as you're heading out, you guys begin to hear the distinct sound of metal on metal, blades ringing, followed by a rather gruff voice hooting and hollering, coming from the yard out back, which you cannot mistake. It is undoubtedly Rockthar, the one-time Black Wind of the Olzamor Isles, having his way with some would-be swordsmen.
Morning battle call. Should we go check on the Black Wind?
I don't see why not.
Yeah, we'll just drop in and see who his new victim is. And getting up from the table, I'm gonna make a very pointed glance at the person that insulted Castiel. What do they look like, Heath?
Um, they are one of the the younger nobles who's happened to be here in the morning, likely from an extravagant wine-filled night before. Kind of he's got an angular face, long blonde hair pulled back into a ponytail, tied together with an elegant braid. His clothes, still nice, are a little disheveled from the night before.
What are the rules on the books for dueling in Kenthar? Is it legal to issue challenges and have formal duels?
Um, I'll say yeah. It's a fairly rare occurrence, as most of them are prefer to let signatures and documents do the fighting for them. But it's somewhat dishonorable to back down from a duel, not defend your family's name, unless you can find a clever workaround. Is what happens more often than not.
Okay. He hasn't done anything. He hasn't done enough yet to warrant me killing him, but I'm making a mental note.
Okay.
So I'll get up and leave the table and walk towards Rokthar's training area.
All right. So as you head out back behind the Guild Hall of Ordo Silva, there is a large clearing. The grass is mostly beaten down, dead, just a large dirt ring. And in the ring, you see an elf. He's probably between 5'6" and 5'9" in height. But the most distinguishable feature about him is that he has dark black skin, almost ebony, very, very rare skin tone for elves to have. And in front of him is a large lad, but he's on his hands and knees and he's climbing up, trying to get up. And as he does, you see Rockthar, who's got a bit of a pot belly. His face is scarred heavily. Run forward and take his stained leather boot and plant it firmly with a solid kick into the ass of this young upstart, just sending him sprawling. And he's waving a cutlass at him. His other hand is also gesturing just menacingly. However, instead of a hand, it's actually an ornate hook. He's like, you call that fighting? You think your size is going to do you any good? Look where it's got you, planted flat firm on the ground, you piece of shit. You come back to me when you know how to hold that blade. You understand? And as he's saying this, he's giving him, another firm kick in the ribs. It's like, get up, get out of my sight. You're disgraceful.
Valinor is gonna watch that whimsically, and then as the man scampers away, he's gonna walk forward with his hand raised, and he's gonna greet him with the formal elven greeting of the North Forest, Razanorai Tezanai, which means greetings, honored friends.
As he turns and sees you present him with this greeting, he raises his hook hand and returns the former gesture and gives a slight, almost respectful nod in your direction. What can I do for you today?
I've been hearing some rather disturbing rumors floating around the forest. Talk of the young King of Holland barricading Anchor Point?
Twit of a lad he is. Can't really confirm that the young king is responsible for this strange blockade that's popped up, but there's been an alarmingly large amount of pirate activity, which has been conveniently directing a lot of trade into Holland's ports, where they are no doubt, I would presume, being taken advantage of. But that's just hearsay.
So, smiling at Rockthar, Valinor says, Pirates to the west, Crimson Cove. Pirates to the right, Anchor Point. It's becoming a pirate's world, my friend.
It is. If I had it my way, I'd lynch every one of them sons of bitches, but the glory days are long behind me. And you see, like, he almost kind of stares off, loses himself in thought as if remembering, some old battle that took place. And just for a moment, his eyes kind of drop down and linger on his hook hand for a moment. What's done is done, though. No point in dwelling about it. I reckon you're ready for a round or two.
Thalanor turns and he looks at Tomak and he says, "Actually, I was thinking you might test your strength out on an Umik."
I've got nothing to prove, lad. I've done my time in the Navy, killing my fair share of pirates. They call me the Black Wind.
Aye, Rakthar, aye. I think the lessons will be for him.
Well, perhaps he can simply observe.
Tomak rubs his hands together as he looks at the Black Wind, and he notices the hook on his hand, and he respectfully declines as well. I'm more of a man of grappling and taking a good fair swing at things, but not with a blade.
Alright, Tomak. Alright, back up. I'll show you how it's done. Though I've never beaten him, and I doubt today's going to be the first. So he slowly draws his rapier. And he says to the Black Wind, "Gentlemen's rules, 1 point."
Gentlemen rules. Gentlemen rules. That's cute. All's fair in love and war.
You always were the tactician. So he'll crouch down and some of the leaves start to spatter out of the trees as you're looking down from an aerial view. And he brings the rapier in front of him, the duelist form. This monolithic figure looking forward with the blade in the front, waiting for a move.
You see him give his cutlass a few good swings around, and in an attempt of intimidation, he brings his hook hand over it and gives it a solid shing off the blade, and then with savagery just lunges forward, slashing to and fro with his sword, and also bringing his hook to bear whenever an opportunity would present itself.
Yeah, so I try. At first, I try to use some feigns to throw him off his guard, but the old salty dog's a little bit too skilled for me. I fall down, buckling and trying to parry as I back up on my hands, losing more and more ground until finally I run up into a tree and a hook comes out at my face, and I just let my sword fall. Black Wind indeed.
I should have seen me in my glory days. It was a fine sight to behold, and terrifying, so I was told. You did good, though. You did good. You're improving. Glad to see that. One day you'll outdo me. Usually it's supposed to be the other way around, though, isn't it, Tata?
Yeah. Well, nothing's ordinary about you. And with your hook out, he grabs it, and you pull it back and help me up to my feet. And I give you a hefty pat on the back, a couple hard slaps. You do me proud. You do me proud.
I try. Though, it's been many, many years since I've had a hand worth grasping this, and as he's speaking, he's sliding his cutlass away and reaching around behind his back, fiddling, and pulls out a dagger and kind of gives it, a look over eyeing it as if, a rather prized possession. So, yeah, I don't have much use for this anymore. And he says, kind of waving his hand around. More of a keepsake than anything. Reminds me of the good old days. But I figure you could get some use out of this.
So Thalanor, he'll take it, and he turns it over and looks at it. He presses a button, and you see the forks come out on the two sides of it. Mangosh. Very fine. I'm not even going to ask where you got this.
Long story. And you do see, looking at it, that it's absolutely gorgeous in pristine condition. The blade is, Damascus steel pattern welded, so it's got that beautiful, like, wavy pattern of the blade. The wrap around the handle is like a very fine silver chain. He's taken very, very good care of this.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I will yield this with honor. And you see him go ahead and stick it in his belt loop, closing the fork.
Well, I sure hope you do, and don't lose the damn thing.
That I promise. And he'll turn and look at Tamak. Oh, did you want to take a go?
In a sword fight? He looks to his new blade. Just on Valinor's side. You know what? Why not? I'll give it a try.
So as you enter the ring to square up with the Black Wind, a peculiar sight comes into view. Well, not out of the ordinary. It's not every day that you see an airship as it lists lazily through the sky, crossing the lake.
Tomat can't help but to just admire this floating mass.
Is the airship flying colors?
I'm not sure. Why don't we let the captain interject?
So you see an aerial view of Kennethar from above. And as it shifts up, you see a mountain range. And we pull in close and we see Mount Zerzo covered in ice and snow. There's a storm brewing. And as the camera comes in closer, we see a cave and a sign that's been blown by the wind. And on the sign says, "No trespassing." And in the deepness and the darkness of the cave and the mountain, we see an amber light glowing. And inside we see three shadows holding up pitchforks. I hate this, Captain, says one man, his hair frozen to his body, it's shattering. A green stone emerges from the picks. Ropes are hoisted and grappled. They're pulling the stone out of the cave. Yo! 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 And as they pull out the cave, you see a giant airship with the face of a giant wolf, with its jaw down, and they're dragging in this giant green stone. I say we kill the captain. I don't know. He's not a man to be trifled with. Fuck him. Ugh. And they bring in this giant green stone into its mouth. Later that night, you see a door and the men surrounding the door. The brass handle is ice cold. They churn it. Clink. In the inside of the captain's chamber is an organ. And you see him sitting at the organ, his black hat billowing over his chair, but no music is playing. The men walk into the room, pistols drawn. They go up to the back of the chair. Here's to you, motherfucker. Boom! The chair explodes, and the hay that was in the dummy goes everywhere. The captain's walking around the side of the ship. He has a cutlass out. There goes a rope. The balloon above starts to tremble. More ropes break. And right in the center is the stone in a box. He hops on top of the stone in the box as he cuts the last rope. The balloon goes up, carrying him. The ship falls deep and down into the waters of the lake of Kenethar. A giant splash. And the captain is sitting on top of the box, going through clouds. He's going up so high. He takes out his pistol, looks up to the balloon, shoots a hole. It starts to shimmer down, and he's right in to Kenethar, and he sees some men dueling, and the box is quickly approaching.
Seeing the wolf facing on the front of the ship and the ship going down and this balloon hatching. My God, it's a sky wolf. That's the sky wolf, Azazel, Captain Azazel. He's here with the stone.
And as you say Azazel, you see him come into view way too fast than what he should be doing. He's standing on top of the box, his hat blowing in the wind. It's coming down. He reaches up, he grabs it, puts it onto his head. The box is coming in fast.
I'm gonna quickly run out of the way because I see the collision course coming, and I'm like, no way am I getting hit by that large box of stone because I know how much adventuring weighs. So I yell to the Black Wind and to Tomac, he's coming in hot, run!
So Azazel.
Can I catch it?
Absolutely. Azazel grabs the cord that's holding the box, and he cuts it. The box falls. He goes up as it starts to deflate. It lands. And that's how he made it to Kenethar.
So yeah, as the stone's coming in, everybody's bailing out as well. You see the Black Wind kind of shake his head, and in like that scene from the Lord of the Rings, if you guys are familiar, when they launch the pieces of the city at them, he kind of just takes a curt step to the side as it comes rolling past him and just spits on the ground. What the fuck is happening?
You see Azazel stand up, and you only see his back and this flowing cloak that's around his shoulders, dusting off one side, dusting off another. He turns around, and you see the morning light enter in his face, and it's just like this all halo of hat. And he approaches and walks forward. He takes the hat off his head and does a deep bow. Hello, my name is Azazel Delavine. It's a pleasure to meet you. I'm looking for Valinor. Has anyone seen him? Valinor?
He cascading his fingers up like, yeah, that's me. Valinor answers.
Valinor, I have brought your delivery. And he gently guides you by the back to this box that is land.
I'll inspect the goods immediately. Like I take my rapier and I start like cutting the rope so the box like falls flat on all sides. And as the sun shines on this glorious, glorious stone, it just lights up like the richest sapphire I've ever seen. And my eyes twinkle a little bit as I look into the greatness that's going to be this monument.
Now Azazel hops on it like a bench, and he splits open his legs and he pats the stone. Well, in order to get this, payment on delivery, sir.
Money? I was under the impression it was already paid for.
Azazel hops up on top of the stone, starts pacing back and forth. Paid for! Paid for! He hops down. And he approaches you, puts his hand on your shoulder and says, "Are you telling me you don't have the goods?" And he withdraws his hand and paces away. Turns around dramatically. "You don't have the goods."
Oh, wait, Azazel. The man didn't tell you the contact? It was a favor trade. I was cashing in a favor. He was supposed to pay for the stone. You were to deliver it, but the payment was supposed to be his. This is a great misunderstanding, and my hands come up.
So Azazel walks over to the stone, puts him down, puts his head down close to the stone, starts breathing heavily. And he's thinking, "I've lost my ship. I don't have a way out of here. Maybe this man can help me." He lifts up and he looks at you. "Well, maybe there is something we can work out."
Yes, I'm sure we can come to some kind of agreement. I've got a little bit of tow around here, and we are standing at the Ordo Silva Guild.
Tell me something about this Order Silva Guild. Are
Well-
they affluent? It seems to be in a bit of... He comes in a little closer and whispers, "Disrepair."
As you ask about the Ordo Silva Guild, Black Wind, who has been kind of standing idly by, moves forward and he says, "Used to have a glorious sparring ring they did, and a rock fell from the guy and tore it all to shit.
Oh, excuse me,
Craziest thing."
sir. My name is Azazel Delavine. Who are you? And he puts his hand on the stone and just... What?
Rockthar, also known as the Black Wind, arms master of the guild.
Rock Far.
Thar.
Thar. Oh,
Correct.
well, it's a pleasure to meet you. I'm very sorry about the stone. Perhaps we can get some men together and well, what exactly are you using this stone for, Thalanor?
Yes, Valinor. What exactly are you using the stone for, I do wonder?
Thalanor thinks back to the times of grandeur for the Ordo Silva when he had been into Kenthar in the past. The tree in glorious condition, looking like the most delightful and ornate sylvan vestige to carry out the will of the guild, and in front of it a large ornate marble statue depicting one of the guild's champions, calling all those in that have any need to pay for task or kill or adventure. It was like the herald welcoming business, and he thinks to himself, for an organization to be great, it must have a great image. So turning with a little bit of the dreamer's eye, he says, "I plan on erecting a monument of one of the guild's champions to prove to Kenthar that the Ordo Silva has risen again."
It seems like this Ordo Silva is on its way up.
Ha! The Black Wind laughs.
So, in Azazel turns and sees an Umik. Excuse me. I didn't catch your name. My name is Azazel Delavine.
He looks over this airship captain and looks over his wares and stuff, and he's seen them overhead before, but definitely not close up. Like, you just...
So as
like,
the Umik starts talking to me, I turn my back to him, and I look over into the water, and I peer at the men drowning into the ocean. "Yes, Umik." And I turn back around. What were you saying?
Nice to meet you.
Oh,
My name is Tamak. I am the Umik ambassador, if you will.
Tamak. I walk over and shake your hand. Nice to meet you. I grab your shoulder, testing your strength.
When he grabs hold to shake your hand, still having somewhat of. He's gotten better with it. He doesn't go to like fully crush your hand, but he shakes it sturdily, and you can feel like more of a grip. Not
Well,
being. Huh?
Azazel actually is a pretty slight fellow. He average height, average build, but when you grab his hand, you sense a kind of an uncanny strength. And even if you were to try to bear down, it's like grabbing a door handle that you're trying to crush. It's like it's not going to give.
As he's holding onto Azazel's hand, he smirks and he looks at you and he says, "Good grip." Let's go here.
Yes, well, and I turned to Thalanor, and Tumak. Perhaps we should lift this stone out of here.
Thalanor is now, because he saw you turn to look into the water, his eyes are now fixed on the water as well. What happened up there? The ship go down?
So I pull out my pistol. I open it up. It smells like it's been recently fired. And from it, I view out into the water through the hole, smelling the gunpowder. You know, sometimes things just go a little... puts it into his belt. Crazy.
Yeah, Thalanor can understand that, and he shoots Rockthar a glance, who's a naval man. He knows all about the treachery of riding the unknown with a crew of scoundrels who could turn on you at any point, and he kind of nods his head.
Azazel just sweeps his cloak over his shoulder. Black Wind, is there some rope that I can help to carry the stone out of here?
Yeah. I figure you're going to get this out of my ring. I'll help you as much as I can. And he proceeds to give you some directions to into the guild hall, into a storage area where you could find some large, thick, sturdy ropes.
Perfect.
Heavy, like someone couldn't just lift it up, like.
This thing's easily 2 tons of stone.
It's a chunk right out of the mountain, basically.
Okay, never mind.
It's like the size of like David from Michelangelo, right? It's like it's
Yeah.
huge.
Right.
Yeah, we're gonna need like probably to make a sled or something and pull the thing. So.
All right. Well, after that's done.
Yeah, so we want to just like do a time elapse of us moving the stone out. I imagine we're able to do it.
Yeah, fast forwarding a few hours, you have the stone positioned in a more proper place, and you also kind of recall Cassiel mentioning something about meeting you gentlemen to further investigate your previous engagement that you had the day before in the woods. And you also may recall that you still have in your possession that vial of liquid that the guildmaster had asked you to retrieve yesterday.
Perhaps now is a good time to enter you into the order, Azazel. We have to return this to the guild leader anyways, and it would be a good opportunity for you to meet him on a good foot.
May I see that?
Yeah, I hand it to you.
I grab it. I hold it up into the light. What color is it?
It's crystal clear, seemingly, indistinguishable from water.
Is it okay if I open the cap to this?
He didn't say anything about not doing it. Sure.
All right.
Go ahead.
So very carefully, holding it kind of away, I open up the cap, and then I do one of these, and I would like to use a perception test smelling to see if I can identify it.
Yeah, you don't need to have to make a perception test for that. It smells very, very strongly of like alcohol. almost of something pure in nature.
I say Thalanor, this is like a very strong alcohol. Now, is this the drinking kind or the cleaning kind?
From what you're probably gathering, just from the super strong scent, it would be something likely used in medical procedures for cleaning.
Is this a tincture? And he closes the cap.
He really didn't say, just that he needed it. Well, let's ask him. And he gives like a nod of his head.
Well, maybe I pull you to the side. Maybe this is valuable. How hard would it be to get us another vial that looks like this?
Hmm.
And I pass it back to you and place it into your hand. How hard would it be?
So, general knowledge, you suspect, just from the process required to distill the alcohol and to make something of this high, medicinal quality, that it's definitely got some market value.
Thalanor says, it's not a bad idea to turn an extra profit, but I was going to use this as the bargaining tool to get you into the guild. If we do this and we fail, we're going to be off on a really, really bad foot.
Well, I guess maybe we'll play it straight now, and then.
Exactly. Now, I'm not saying I'm against taking a little bit off the side, and he starts whispering, just saying, let's wait a little bit, let's bide our time.
Yeah, it's the long con.
Long con. Yeah.
All right. So we make our way to the these quarters, wherever we're headed. What's the name of this person?
Jokar.
Are you joking? His name is Jokar?
No, his name is Jokar. He lets the R roll a little bit. Jokar.
Ah, Jokar.
Now, I warn you, he's quite unsightly. And you see like a silk handkerchief come out, and I pat my mouth with it. If you have an uneasy stomach, you might want to take it easy.
What's happened to him? Has he been mauled? Has he been burned? Has his face been eaten by acid?
He looks like a man whose hair has been turned into a nest. And you can see the handkerchief come over his face again, as if he's going to burp a little bit, like the foretelling sign of vomit. Disgusting, but he's an alright guy.
If this man is insane and unsanitary, how can he be leading these people?
Well, that's a good point, and some don't think he is. There's a large faction of this guild that thinks that the true power rests with Vivian.
Then tell me, why don't we see Vivian?
That is not a good idea, my friend. And I hold up my finger and I turn and I look at Tomak.
I lean against the wall. Vivian. All right, let's go see your man.
All right, so we make our way.
Just looks back and good choice. Good choice.
Yeah, excellent choice. So I guess we'll make our way then to Jokar.
All right. So soon enough, you find yourself up there at his chamber door, presumably rapping on it to see if he's there. A few moments later, you hear the familiar sound of feet slapping off of wood, and the door is flung open. And as it, what's that?
Oh, when the door flung open, it kind of shocked me.
Oh. So yes, as the door opens, you're greeted with a strong, pungent aroma of some natural body odor, a bit of an earthy tone. And standing before you is what is presumably an elf, but his hair is long, bedraggled. There's bits of twigs in his hair, leaves still attached to him, a very long, scraggly beard. His robes are disheveled, covered in muck and other types of viscera, and clenched in one of his hands is a tall, gnarled staff with a bit of ornamentation on it. But a pair of golden-hued, sharp-looking eyes peer out from beneath this mess of hair.
Well, I give him the greeting, Resina Nora Tardin. My name is Azazel Delavine.
Yes, that's a fantastic name. Wonderful. How can I help you today?
I take a step in. I slip around to the side of him. Well, I was wondering if I could help you. Please, Telenor, come in.
Yeah, so I'll walk in and holding up the vial, I'll say, we did as you asked. Here is what you wanted us to pick up. And he'll gesture with his other hand. This man, Azazel, has done us a solid favor. He helped us procure this and also dropped off a large shipment of stone that's going to be used in the construction of the Guildhall Monument, as we discussed.
Yes, fantastic. That's absolutely wonderful. I see the new guild members are not nearly as punctual as the old ones. I distinctly recall ordering this last week. It was last week, perhaps last month. He kind of like goes to starts like stroking his beard, and as he's doing so, there's just a very, very faint like chirping sound that almost sounds like it's emanating from inside his beard.
Inside the study, is there any paintings of him from the past?
Not inside the study. There are a bunch of paintings, though, spread out throughout the guild hall depicting it in its, glory days with various members of the guild.
Are there any oddities on the shelves?
There are some strange knickknacks in his room. Over the many years, he's had the time to accumulate a vast array of different things. However, one in particular might stand out to you.
I approach it.
What exactly is it that you're approaching?
It looks like a violin.
Okay.
Where did you get this?
A roving salesman came through town.
I pick it up and I look on the inside. Is there anything contained within the violin?
Yes. There's a small volume of paper in like a very tiny scroll case, kind of like what you might put on a carrier pigeon.
I walk over to Thalanor. I say, Thalanor, do you see this inside there?
As you're kind of moving it around too, you see like his gaze is fixed on you, and he kind of takes a step forward. Says, "Be careful! It's an artifact from a time long forgotten." And, like he waves his hand grandiosely in the air.
And I would. Are the strings still on it?
They are.
Hey, you have rather delicate hands, Thalanor. Do you think you could?
Yes, hand that over to me.
And I do.
I'll
like
look
like passing a baby.
You see him take like another little short step forward. He says, "Be careful! It's a family heirloom you're playing with there."
Don't worry, Jokar. Just 1 second. And you see my delicate hands throw back the frill on the end of my jacket, and they slightly fish through the strings. And you hear the vibrations as my fingers are rubbing against them. Got it. I pull out the piece of vellum in front of Jokar.
Ah, that's where I put that. I've been looking for that for about the past 50 years. Fantastic.
Unroll it.
Put the violin underneath my armpit and just
I come over and I look over his shoulder, peering down. What does it say?
You want me to say, Heath, or do you have an idea?
Sure, absolutely.
So we open it up. The shadows cast over as Azazel's looking behind. It's a map of the Crimson Cove. A red X with dots leading to a shoreline, paces measured out. It looks like it's a treasure map.
I whistle low and I look up over at Jokar. And I look at Thalanor and the eunuch. Are we the only ones who know of this? My eyes starting to smile.
Jokar, how did you come by this?
There was a roving salesman that came through town about 80 years or so ago.
80 years. 80 years.
And I start to walk away from you. 4 score.
Do I recognize like any spots on this map? Being of the land.
No, not necessarily. I mean, it looks the land looks familiar, but you know, this is obviously written before your time.
Jokar, do you have an atlas here that perhaps we can identify what landmass this is?
I'm sure there's one somewhere. There's one. There's one. What do you call them? What do you call them? Guild members. That's what they are. Guild members. There's a guild member here. Wing lady. She's always studious in the books. Got her nose buried all the time. Surely she would know where to find an atlas.
Do you know this woman, Thalanor? Well, tell me, Jokar, what does she look like?
She's like a very large indeed, like bipedal bird. It's magnificent.
She is beautiful. An angel fallen from the heavens.
I put my hand on your shoulder, look you dead in the eyes, my eyes glowing like sunlight, and I say, beautiful.
Beauty pales and bows before the magnificence that is this person.
I don't know. She's got a distinct lack of beak that I find disturbing for a bird.
I throw my head back, my hat almost falling off my head in laughter. So let's take this map and find this beautiful woman.
As you're talking, like a cobra striking, Jakar's hand like lashes out and snatches the tincture away from you. Says, "All right, fantastic. Yes, here we go." And he moves around and approaches you as Azelin brings his staff to bear, and like taps you once on each shoulder. "You are now a member of the Ordo Silva. I'm sure you'll do us proud." And begins to shoo you guys out of his room. If you could be on your way and go do guild stuff now, that'll be great. And closes the door behind him.
Oh.
Okay, so once we're in the hallway, I'm going to reopen it up, and this is what it looks like. The Crimson Cove is right here. We're in Kenthar, and
I point to those mountains and I say, those are the Zurzo Mountains where I acquired the stone. I'm familiar with the area. We can get supplies along this route. What are your thoughts?
that's what it looks like right there. There's like a line, and then it gives pace directions on the edge of this woods. So there's an X here, which is weird, and then there's a line going to the woods and then pace directions. So it's like there's two points marked.
Maybe before we head straight for the place, we shall go through the mountains and into the woods.
I take the piece of paper, I hold it up into the light, and in the paper embedded in it is a watermark with a symbol of a half fish, half lion. I wonder what this symbol means.
Half fish, half lion. Yes. We should go ask Cassiel. She might know.
Where is she anyway?
Oh my... We were supposed to meet her almost 2 hours ago. And you see like a look of shock come over my face. I like bite my middle finger. She is not going to be happy.
Post haste.
He puts his hand on Azazel's like middle back, like shoulder, middle back, and says, "Hopefully, you can explain that one to her."
I roll my cloak over my shoulders and I bare my chest, strapped in a thick leather. Yes, let's go meet this angel.
So, fast forwarding, Cassiel, you've been outside waiting, just on the edge of town, and they're pretty late at this point. You've been waiting there for about an hour and a half, 2 hours. What is it that might have been passing through your head this whole time?
She actually, where she's at, she's actually sitting on the edge of the fountain, the fountain statue of the Evening Glory. She had her bath and talked with the consorts, and they wanted to know where she was, where she stayed these last 2 nights, who she stayed with, giggled and gossiped, and all the while she was having her bath, and then she sat down and waited for them. She actually, when they approached, she seems completely oblivious. She's sitting there with the dark leather grimoire on her lap, the sigils in it kind of shining on her face a little bit as she's reading, seems completely absorbed. Absent-mindedly, she prunes one of her wings with this strange, almost like long-tined comb that she uses to prune her wings. And when they appear, she's actually completely oblivious to the time.
So as they approach, you hear a familiar voice, kind of, disembodied, speaking, to you. So, look at that. These people you call friends are late. You'd think if they'd had any amount of respect for you, Cassiel, they'd be on time.
Oh, hush you, she says as she looks up from her book, or from her grimoire. Are they late? I lost total track of the time.
Indeed they are.
And I don't recognize that one in the large hat.
And as he walks into the room, he takes off his hat and he bows deeply and swishing the hat along the floor, and a little feather is thrown up into the air and it's black. And as he comes back up, he takes the feather, puts it into his hat, and puts it back on his head and says, "My name is Azazel Delavine, and it is an honor to meet you."
She closes the book. You notice it has like the cover just almost like radiates a kind of darkness, and she puts it in her bag, and she stands up and, "I'm Cassiel."
He comes over, he takes her hand as lightly as possible and bows deeply and raises up again. Thalanor, is this the creature you were telling me of?
So Thalanor has his hands up like this, and he's actually framing what he's seeing here, like the vagabond pirate captain taking the hand of the goddess. Yes, yes, I like this. Oh yeah, yes. This is Cassiel, and he kind of holds his hand out.
Well, Cassiel, we are on the footsteps of a mystery. As I lean in close, circling my hand at the table. Eleanor, show her.
So he like pops the vellum out and grabs it. Yeah. Let's take a look at this really quick before we get to the other pressing matter. And he walks over and rolls out.
I don't see what any of this has to do with those bugs we found.
Yes.
And then the second you put the map in front of her, she just shuts up and starts looking at it. Heath, the watermark is the first thing she notices. I'm focused on heraldry. Can I make a check? Figure out what it means?
Absolutely.
That is 9 plus 5. That's a 14 heraldry check.
So as you're examining the watermark, which has kind of become a bit indistinguishable throughout the years, a few different insignias kind of run through your head, but the one that most closely resembles it kind of pops out to you, and it looks as though it's a shark with like its mouth open, kind of veering along through the water in a very predatory fashion.
As she's looking at it, she rubs her finger on it and she blows off some of the like old dust that's collected, revealing it as not a lion with a fish's tail, but an actual vicious shark. These are the pirates, I believe, a pirate sigil, if I recall. And she shows them the shark with its mouth open, swimming through waters.
Thalanor just strokes his chin, looking in the opposite direction, remembering the words he had read on the map. Where 3 kings bleed. And his eyes narrow on those mountains.
This is very interesting. Where did you find such a thing?
Hazazel found it. He was inspecting one of the old man's jokar's violins, and the vellum was hidden inside.
Yes,
a keen eye and a silver tongue.
I feel as if we should investigate and to see what our trips and travels might reveal.
Zazel, you are familiar with some of the pirate clans.
And he has a small hearty laugh. And he turns his back and walks over towards the window. It's silhouetting him in a stained glass. You could say that. And he puts his hand against the wall. And he remembers being lashed to a wall and beaten by pirates. Yes, I know them, and I know their ways.
So then, shall we go recover a treasure?
Are we to forget about these things we found? And she reaches into her bag and pulls out the handful of tiny, exquisite clockwork hornets.
Yes. How could I forget? This vellum is over 80 years old. The treasure's going nowhere. Perhaps we should go pay that gnome a visit.
Let me tell you a story. Once, long ago, I was at a river, and I was searching for gold and panning. And as I was panning for gold, I saw a brief glimmer of a flake. But I thought, oh, if I keep panning, that flake will show up. Maybe I'll find more. Not only did I not grab that gold, I lost it at the end, and it never showed up again. Perhaps we should move on the chance while we have it now. We never know how many spies are here. And he looks around the room.
There is some truth to what Azazel says, and the very fact that the map has been found may be setting in motion several things we can't even see or imagine.
Perhaps it will work like the slingshot with the birds. Maybe we'll find what you're looking for with the hornets and the treasure on the same trip.
Well, the gnome is on the way through the woods.
Convincing argument. I don't see all of the logic. However, you both seem very set on this course of action. What of you, Tomak?
He looks over, noticing how much Azizel is really looking to get into that treasure. And what says we do find it? What do you propose we do with it?
Oh,
Return the Ordo to its glory.
it's hard to
Fine
argue with
idea.
that. And you see Azazel rub his chin. And from his sun-lit eyes, you see green grow from the pupils.
Jokar means well, but he concerns me more than anything else in this equation. The old man was there when we were talking about the cove, and he's not exactly known for having tight-sealed lips.
Oh, we can't rely on him for discretion.
No. Who knows who else he told in the guild, and who else's glory or honor it would be if they beat us to the prize.
And you see Azazel puts his hand down on the table. It's a little cold. And you see the warmth grow around his hands. Like, he runs like 110 degrees. Runs hot. And he just looks at you all in the eye. What about this Vivian? Do you think she already knows?
I doubt Vivian would even care of such things. She'd probably call it a fool's game or child's play. She's very high and mighty, that woman.
Vivian has her fingers in so many pies, the men have taken to calling her the baker. But the thing is with Vivian, is she's cocky. She'll try to claim the treasure, there's no doubt in my mind. But she thinks she has time.
And I put my finger down on the map, and I tap on the X. He who hesitates loses. We must make arrangements.
What do you say,
I say we
Cassio?
go.
She sighs and puts the handful of hornets back into her bag. Well, I'm not learning anything new standing around here.
Tomak, my friend, I'm sorry for interrupting you. Your advice would be most welcome here.
But alright, I think if we stay away from telling Vivian and the others about this, from what I've learned, the nobles are, to say the least, greedy. He says with a lack of other words that could possibly come to his head about these nobles. And since it's on the way, we can give that gnome a visit.
I walk back over to the window. Is there a latch where you can open it up?
Sure, absolutely.
I open up the window, and as I do, you see all these doves fly. And you see the glory of the city before us, and the sun coming in through the window. And I point out towards the aisle. Yes.
Shall we plan to depart tomorrow then, because tonight is the goddess's bicentennial ball?
And I turn around, I take off my hat. There's a ball. A man requires formal dress.
Indeed. Well, I know a man, a sartorialist. He does pretty good work. Perhaps we could set you up with something fine.
That
You
would
guys
be...
are gathering around a ball?
Tomak. It would
Not
fit you
easily.
very much.
And Tamak, you're an ambassador for your people. You must make connections.
I'm sorry, say that one more time. I didn't hear the last part.
Tamak, you're an ambassador of your people. You must make connections. There is no better time than rubbing elbows at a gala.
Oh, so it's a gala. All right. Uh, Certainly I'll have to find what you guys would call better wares than just my armor.
I look at your muddy boots. I would say so.
And Cassiel, our friend here, Azazel, has brought the adventurine that I was talking about earlier. We can begin construction on the statue any day now.
I look at Thalanor and I say, "This is who you hope to capture? Oh, it will be a masterpiece."
Yeah, as me and you look at her, you see like the light kind of filtering through the window, little particles caught in it, lighting up and giving her body this like really light golden sheen.
Her hair just becomes like a halo of loveliness.
Yes, yes, yes.
With all eyes on her, she kind of steps back out of the beam of light. You know, she kind of like hides behind her silvery hair, letting it fall over her face. She's like, "Well, don't you guys have things to procure for this ball?"
Yes, yes, we do.
We can talk about the sculpture there.
If you don't mind, I would like to make a copy of this map before we leave.
Sure, I mean, yeah, it's in your possession, sure.
All right.
So, with the mission of the ball, likely you guys begin to go about looking for something a bit more fashionable to wear. So while that's happening, what Cassio, what is it that you're making of this situation?
She's going to go talk with the gnome herself while they're shopping. They seem very absorbed in this treasure map, and she's not opposed to going, but she's really interested in these little clockwork devices. She's never seen anything like it. So she's going to fly out to the gnome's homestead and pay another visit with him.
All right. So as you approach, you see the familiar sight of the large windmill attached to its side is, additionally a watermill, and as is accustomed, it would seem, is this black smoke billowing out of this long pipe in the roof. It looks like for a few moments you can see like the inside, the interior illuminate as light just kind of beams out the slits in the shutters, and then it kind of slowly fades away as if winding down.
She raps lightly on the front door. The other hand is reaching into her bag as she raps, taking a hold of these hornets.
So you hear the rush pattering of feet as Hecatrice runs across his workshop, and you hear click, click, snap, cling as about a dozen or so locks unhinge themselves, and the door opens up just enough for him to stick his head out and peer around. After about a moment of this, he brings a finger up. You see him go. As he wipes the soot away from his goggles, his face is still covered in this mud, hair blasted back, frizzy on end. Yes. How can I help you, stranger?
Stranger, we met yesterday, Hecatrice.
You could be right. Could be wrong. Who's to tell?
I wanted to see, do you know anything about these strange and exquisite devices? And she holds out her other hand with the several little clockwork hornets.
You see like his eyes, which are like comically like enlarged by these goggles, kind of shift left, right, left, right, left, right.
You would
Mm,
know anything about these, would you, Hecatrus?
I know they're exquisitely built, that's for sure. A master
Fascinating.
craftsman made these. Absolutely masterful craftsman made these. Should you run into him, let me know. I'd love to talk to him.
Oh, you didn't make these?
Oh, I'm absolutely flattered. Of course I could make something like that. It's simple, not beyond my magnificent level of skill.
Well, I didn't have the tools to examine them closely. May I come in? Could you help me, Hecatrus? Could you help me
Uh,
examine them?
silly question. Silly question, little girl. Of course I can help you. I am
Surely,
Hectorus.
surely, craftsmanship of this style, there must be a maker's mark, correct? Who could create such a thing and not put a maker's mark on it?
So, he's kind of uh, very getting very involved with these things, and he opens the door and lets you in as these words of flattery flow forth from your mouth, and as you enter his shop, it's a mess, complete mess. If anything, it's one of those cluttered, organized clutters. It appears as he goes around dipping behind your view into various piles of mechanical and clockwork nonsense, and emerges with a pouch like full of tools and ushers you over to a bench where he sets these at. And you can see behind him, it looks like there's this large brass cylinder, and there's a light like emanating from it, followed, as a hum, like kind of begins to issue forth. And as this begins to happen, he quickly reaches into his bag and pulls out another pair of these goggles and hands them to you. And the lenses are kind of tinted. Says, may want to put these on quickly now.
Certainly. And she puts them on and she kind of looks at the large brass cylinder. What exactly is going on here?
So a few moments later, after donning these, the light emanating from inside her begins to grow and grow, and the hum increases until it's blinding, almost like a miniature sun. And then likewise, it begins to subside. Just something I'm working on. Nothing to concern yourself with. Nothing. Surely it's beyond you, anyways.
Surely. Now these
So,
hornets.
so he takes them from you, and with just an uncanny delicateness, begins to undo the very tiny screws and maneuver around different clockworks and begin to open this thing up. And inside you see is very precisely made springs and gears that power this. And he holds up the thorax and pulls out a large, almost like a jeweler's lens, and puts it to his eye, already enlarged by his goggles, and begins to look at it. Yes, wonderful. Ah, there it is, the maker's mark. Hmm. Interesting. It looks a lot like mine. Peculiar. And kind of hands it back to you and starts stroking his chin. Hmm. Hmm.
It looks a lot like yours. If you had made such a thing, how could you forget?
Oh, you know how it goes. Busy. The mind's always working. Things come, things go.
Is there a method of controlling them? You do know they're attacking citizens in the woods and causing quite the calamity.
And you see again his eyes get like rather shifty at the mention of them attacking citizens. Hmm.
I mean, it would be a shame for the people to find out this strange little man at the edge of their town is responsible for it. I mean, they might grab torches and pitchforks. That would be a terrible thing for you in your workshop, wouldn't it?
You see him like kind of slam his fist on the desk as you mentioned strange. He says, "No, eccentric, brilliant, beyond his years and wisdom and intellect." I suppose some might find that strange, intimidating, surely.
One scholar to another, I don't dispute anything you say. I'm just the laymen. They tend to think differently than us scholars, you know.
All right, all right, all right. If you're going to twist my arm about it, and he kind of like ushers and brings you in. So, I was working on an experiment, you know, and testing out. It was a new control nodule, and I wanted to see how many units it could control at the same time. In truth, I never got a try at the control nodule. I kind of misplaced it. So the things began operating, and as he says, you know, the things, he kind of like nods his head over at the wasps, and began reproducing, manufacturing themselves, all part of the plan, of course, you know, to see how many I could control. Slight error in my calculations. It turns out leaving the nodule inside the nest while building the nest is a pretty poor place for it to be when I need it to control them. So I, well, did what any good inventor does, I suppose, when something gets out of control. Tossed it and forgot about it.
So the control is in the nest, and yet they keep making more of themselves.
Yes, quite the conundrum, I'd say.
Now, I know with normal bees and hornets, you can use fog to put them to sleep. Did you imprint any failsafe on these little wonders? A magnet, perhaps?
Adorable, adorable to think that fog would work with a mechanical contraption. No, a magnet, that's a good idea. Fantastic. Don't know why that didn't occur to me.
Do you have one?
Perhaps. And he begins rummaging around in his shop. A few moments later, he comes over, and there's this large horseshoe-shaped device with copper wire wrapped from one end to the other, and the wire is leading down to a large box that it's affixed to. And with a hearty heave and a thump, places it on the table. Electromagnet. None like it.
Fine craftsmanship, if I do say so myself.
You would be correct.
Now, if I were to wrangle these hornets myself, could I use them? Could I? You see, the guild is on the up and up, and we need defenses and things of that nature. I'm sure you'll get a good pat on the back at the very least.
Well, surely it would be wise to put them in a spot more easily observed. I'm a very busy man. Very busy man. Can't be counted on to keep track of everything. But it would be nice if someone would take a load off my shoulders so that I may study them at my leisure and see what happens with them in a controlled environment. Yes, if you want to handle them, do with them as you please, but do keep me informed. I'll be around to check up on them.
Certainly, certainly. And maybe I could have you up to my study sometime, and I could learn a thing or two.
Oh, I'm sure you could. Sure you could learn a thing or two. Plenty of things. However, I'm terribly busy. Unless you have anything else worthwhile, I would like you to leave that I may continue with what I'm doing.
Oh, yes, certainly. Very important work, I see. Can
Absolutely.
I lift this magnet?
Yeah, it's pretty heavy, but you can lift it.
Okay. I heft up the magnet under my arm, and I guess I head out.
All right, so are you heading back to where you initially encountered them?
Yes.
Okay. So as you're approaching, you once more begin to hear the familiar humming sound that's growing ever louder as you approach the the little clearing where you had encountered these initially. Looking around, one thing that would stand out to you is as you approach the spot where you initially did battle and encountered these things, is that none of the remnants from the ones that you had smashed are there before. It's as if they had never fallen in the first place.
I'm gonna keep an eye out this time. Now that I know what I'm looking for, as I head into deeper into the forest.
So as you head deeper, once more the thrumming grows louder and louder and louder until it sounds as if you're right on top of them. So go ahead and give me a perception test, seeing if you have it.
I don't have it, so that's gonna be just I'm sorry, just a 13.
All right, well, that's actually enough. As the sun's rays pierce the canopy, you see a interesting glinting up in the treetops. And looking closely at it, it looks as though it's a very large hornet's nest, but it's made entirely out of what appears to be brass and copper with like little rivets on it. And it's in that moment that the humming gets loud, just unbearably loud, and you have this recollection of what happened previously, and approaching from behind you is just a black blot, snake-like, pattern of these wasps zipping around the branches through the leaves and snaking down directly at your back, seemingly catching you off guard. However, as you turn and see these approaching you, like in slow motion, something happens.
So, seeing my sister in danger, out of the sky with a sort of trumpet fanfare descends like a comet from the sky. Barahil, who is an Avarial warrior, and he's got this ridiculous, over-the-top sort of muscled cuirass like a Greek warrior, and he's descending at maximum speed towards the earth, and he hits and unfurls his wings at the last second. Huge wingspan, and he stands up in front of these hornets with the shield and spear raised. He looks over his shoulder at Casil and nods, and then rushes towards the hornets.
Absolutely, and they collide with this new individual shield, breaking like waves on a rock, cascading around you as he rushes into the fray.
Speechless. She doesn't react for a good several moments. But, they said he died.
So Barahil is doing his best to get rid of these things, using his wings to like beat them away if he can, like shooting all this air in their direction to hopefully like mess up the swarm and stuff. Just trying to get them to disperse. He knows his spear's not do much good here, so he's just trying to get them the hell out of here.
Finally, when she comes to the task at hand. Oh, I can talk to him about this later. She, as Brachial makes a good distraction for these hornets, she finds a better vantage point, and she's going to tell me if this will work. I'm just making this up as I go, Heath, but tell me if this will work. She's going to channel her arcane blast through the electromagnet to create like an EMP just to shut them all down.
Okay. They're not electrical in nature. They're clockwork and springs. However,
Well,
magic.
then to suck them all up like a vacuum, I guess.
Yeah, if you wanted to fire up that electromagnet, it would immediately begin just yanking them to it. Like metal flakes on a
Does it
magnet.
have like a switch or?
Yeah, there's a switch.
Oh, never mind then. Okay. Yeah, then she comes to her senses after this shock. We'll talk about this later. And switches it on.
So, as you fire it on, it begins to hum. And Barahale, you would notice too that, doing your best, batting them aside with your shield and buffeting them with your wings, they just kind of begin to rush past you, though not of their own volition. And there's a tinging sound, ting 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 ting, as these things just begin to collide with this contraption that Cassiel brought with her. It only takes but a few moments before this thing is just clogged up with them, and there was more that began to pour out of that large brass nest, or just immediately pulled to it. You see the nest actually kind of straining against the branch.
Once the cloud's mostly cleared, she's gonna fly straight to the nest, and she's gonna try to take it off from the branches. Try to dislodge it.
Okay, yeah. Once you get there, you see it's on there pretty good. However, it's kind of interesting. Like, it almost looks as though a bunch of rivets or something were put in place all around the circumference of this thing to fasten it in there tight.
She'll grab her short sword and she'll hack at the branch instead. Then, if it's riveted on.
Yep. So it doesn't take long, and the branch does give way, and this nest begins to fall.
I'll grab it and I'll carry it down, set it down next to the magnet, turn towards Barachiel.
Yeah, it's noticeably being yanked towards the magnet while this is happening, now that it's in
So-
closer proximity.
You didn't die.
No, not quite. Somewhat awkward.
Well,
No,
you can go home and tell Father that I'm dead, and you can be his hero again. Always the hero.
I have no interest in that. I've come to find you.
Me?
Yes. I've
You wouldn't
always
even
known
you wouldn't
you were
even
talented.
play sword fighting with me as a child. What interest do you have in your little sister now?
Casil, I had no time to play anything when I was a child. You know how it was. Father made me practice constantly, all the time. I had no time to be a child at all, which is why I vanished. I don't want to bring that up anymore. That's not a problem. We shouldn't have a problem between us. I'm going to find you now, and I'd like to... Well, we'll find out. But it's good to see you. It's good to see that you're alive. It's good to see that you're still working hard, studious, trying to improve yourself.
It's good to see you too, Barachiel. I didn't mean to be so cold, but it's just strange.
I'm sure it must be a shock. I'll tell
Grab
you
that-
sometime soon.
Grab that big brass thing.
Of course.
I'll introduce you to the guild.
Guild.
Now, how did you find me?
That's also a long story. I have been spending, well, years up in the sky in the cities, and recently I found something of yours in a city. I questioned a gargoyle, which is a pretty taxing experience, and I learned that you might be down here on the surface somewhere.
Yes, I went there with the Stormhawks, fleeing that farce of a wedding pact Father made for me. They were all killed by the gargoyles. I barely escaped.
Well, I'm glad that you did.
This town really is wonderful, though.
Are the people not shocked to see you?
They were at first. Now I'm kind of a little bit of a local celebrity or oddity. I'm sure you will be too.
Yes.
It surely will be interesting to unveil you tonight at the gala of the Evening Glory. That's the local goddess of worship around here.
Gala.
I don't believe she's a goddess. I think she's some sort of being of magic, but they worship her as one. Their priestesses are also consorts. As they walk and talk.
That doesn't seem very holy. So they have this kind of like stilted conversation or whatever, and it's a little bit like awkward, I think. And Barhill will just like stop and wait for Cassie to stop, and he'll go over and he'll give her like a serious hug. And he'll say, "I'm very glad to see you again. I'm very glad that you're alive."
I'm glad to see you too. She says.
Good.
But about this goddess, it's very fascinating, and she just like pours out all these facts like she used to as a child. Starts talking to you about like the gross national income of Kenthar or whatever, and just all this stuff.
He kind of smiles and rolls his eyes and like listens as they walk back.
So with some vague memories, perhaps of childhood. These two young Avarials talking and walking, the picture in mind. You guys make your way back to town. Meanwhile, back in Kenthar, what is it that you three gentlemen have been doing?
Thalanor is taking Azazel and possibly Tamak, depending on whether or not he wants to get fine-fitted for the evening's ball. To the local sartorialist that does his clothing, a gentleman named Jack Marcello.
Oh, be careful with that needle, Jack. Oh, that's 5 times you've pierced me.
Are you coming with us, Tamak?
Sorry, the thing was mute. We're all together now, and I'm sorry, I just missed that like one last part.
Azazel and I are going to the sartorialist to get him a suit for the evening's events. Do you need something to wear also, or are you gonna go like that? And there's a little bit of like this, like that.
I look to myself, and I do need new paint. He smiles, but of course I should probably get some wares the locals would enjoy. And he comes with you guys.
Alright, so yeah, like Azazel said, he's fitting him for a suit, he's poking him with needles.
Azazel's holding up this intricate embroidered fabric. It's deep green with even deeper green print. And it's being billowed over his chest, and his pants are like unborn pony hide, and it's gray. And the cape that's being woven is the deepest shade of burgundy and crushed velvet on the inside. And he's holding up a glass of burgundy wine and taking a deep drink. That's going to be great. Haven't been in civil society in quite some time.
Having been a tailor, not a sartorialist, but a tailor in a past time, I'm watching Marcello as he's working and kind of doing some backseat tailoring. Come on, Marcello, what are you doing? Let the pants out a bit.
I said it hung to the left, sir. To the left.
He's looking noticeably bantering on top of his new individual that he's sewing for, as well as giving him direction. I'm a professional at my job. I know how to do a backstitch. Thank you very much.
seems to know what he's doing. How do you like the look?
I look at myself in the mirror, and as I look in the mirror, I see me, I see the tailor, I see the eunuch. Where's Thalanor? And I raise up the cloak, and the light on the wall shines like a bat.
Yeah, actually, I'm gonna do this the fair way. I want to roll perception to see if I notice him lingering, looking in the mirror.
Absolutely.
Is that legit?
Yep.
Okay, it would be a 9.
Do I roll against?
Yeah, if you would like to roll again.
Are you trying to hide looking in the mirror?
No, I'm not. Because you just asked me how I like my look, it will be fairly obvious that I am looking in the mirror.
Yeah, it's it doesn't appear to you, Thalanor, as though he's giving, an inspection of the proximity, through the mirror, but he definitely appears to be rather enamored with himself.
Knowing that he's seen that I'm not in the mirror, because I know people do these things. I've been around a long time with reflective objects being my greatest foe. So I'll start to take out my handkerchief and pad my forehead and step back out of the mirror's gate and try to play it cool, like maybe his eyes were tricking him.
Do you know what we need tonight?
No, what do we need?
We're going to need dates. Do you happen to know any women, Thalanor? Or you, eunuch?
I have a date. Name is Sidonia, the most voluptuous flower you've ever seen.
Does she have a sister?
Unfortunately not. She hails from the local brothel.
Oh, then she has many sisters. And I throw the cloak over my shoulder.
Tamak, will you ask Vivian to the ball?
I was about to say, I have one idea of where I can procure such a date. Granted, she'll probably end up bringing her sword if she does.
From what I know of this woman, what makes you think that you can seduce her?
Tamak looks to Aziel, kind of with a smirk, being just recently taught in the ways of seduction. Well, isn't it you tell them what they want to hear?
And I turn and I look at Thalanor. Tell me these secrets.
That is step 1. For step 2, my dear friend, the way to melt the Ice Queen's heart and take her to the ball. This thing every woman wants, and he begins to lean in, the lights dim, a nice glow on his face as his hands come up in suggestion. Flowers.
At that, the tailor, Jack, he like sews part of my leg into the suit, and I just backhand him.
You used to him prodding you with all those needles like that, huh? He looks to Aziel. He's getting all of this suit work done, not taking any, wince of pain from getting stabbed in the leg.
So the suit finally finished. I walk over and I grab some hard black leather boots, and I take a small cloth and I just polish them. And I lace them up, put them onto my feet, and I walk over and I say, "So you said there was a brothel?"
Oh, you are in for a treat.
And I walk over to the goblet, and I just pour back the rest of the wine into my mouth. My lips crimson, my mouth dry. Oh, I could drink.
Before I leave, I turn to Marcelo and I say, "Ah, Marcelo, do you have the cane that I ordered?"
Of course, sir. It arrived just yesterday.
Ah, very good. How much did it cost me? And what I requested him to get for me is a dark wood cane with like a brass cap on the bottom, and the top of it is this black carving of a wolf's head.
So he brings out a long, ornate wooden box. It pops open two latches, revealing inside of it that exact cane laying on, a velvet bedding. This one is actually on the house. Let it not be said that Marcelo does not repay his favors.
Marcelo, you dog. And my hand goes into my jacket, and I pull out an indiscreet substance wrapped in paper and tied with twine, and I push it across the table to him indiscreetly. I give him a little bit of a wink.
I'm sorry, what was that last part? You cut out for just a moment.
I take from my pocket like a piece of paper that's been folded and tied with a twine, and it looks like it's probably would be used to carry some powder or some kind of weed or flour, and I slowly push it across and give him a wink.
Okay. You see him, kind of subtly take it and palm it in his hand. Says, thank you very much.
I pick up the cane and tip it at him.
Mick looks over and he looks around the shop and he's noticing that the more he looks around this, as he was getting his suit done and as he takes care of his cane, that sadly there is no paint, but he makes no motion about it or say anything towards it. I'm probably not going to find anything to wear.
I look over at Ubik, and I just see him shedding all over the garments.
Valinor will say to Marcelo, "My friend here, the Umik, he is going to the ball tonight as well. I know you are good, but are you a miracle worker?"
Well, I keep my needle sharp and my spools full.
I hate to ask, Marcelo, but what can you do with this?
He moves around, kind of, eyeing the eunuch up and down. You see him kind of holding his hand out, getting some basic, mental measurements. Well, it won't be easy. It's going to be perhaps the biggest coat that I've made, but I think it can be done. Perhaps something in a lavender, dovetails, brass buttons, beautiful frills at the cuffs and neck. Ah, yes, dashing indeed.
I like the sound of this. When can we get to it?
Well, I'll have to work a bit of overtime. Stay open late to get this done, but if you would stop by on your way to the ball, it should be finished.
Thank you.
Don't thank me. Thank Thalinor.
Once again, he raises his cane.
He looks to his friend and nods. Thank you, my friend, for not only teaching me in the ways of women, but also in the way of style.
Don't thank me yet, Tamak. You still need to get flowers, and Vivian still needs to not kill you when you ask her to go.
Rose Smith. I can't say I didn't like it.
I wonder if we can get some drugs to put into the flowers. So if she smells them, she'll be intoxicated and a little bit more easy to seduce.
Out of character, I'm pretty sure our DM would probably swallow us into a giant castle and then have it implode.
Vivian is not to be trifled with. Believe me. And he starts rubbing his neck like the Umik is.
I prefer a more
This woman
natural
sounds so formidable.
dating. I prefer a more natural experience attempting to date this woman.
Well, seems like we have a lot on our plate, gentlemen. Perhaps we should depart. I will show you the brothel, Azazel, so you might find a date. Tamak, you can do what you need to do, and I will return to prepare for tonight's festivities.
Agreed.
So, as you all depart to take care of your varying business, Cassiel and Barahail, you find yourselves back in Kinthar at this time. There's definitely gazes lingering in your direction. Now, Cassiel, this is not unusual to you, but over the course of a year, they've definitely, came in less volume. But with the arrival of this new individual, once more, it reminds you of your first day in Kinthar. You can see the hands rising to people's mouths, hushed whispers, and you can just assume, of all the gossip that you're going to be hearing of.
Yeah, definitely makes Barhill a bit uncomfortable. It's a mix of discomfort and also like extreme pride that these people are looking up to him in such a way. But he won't engage with too many people. He'll just try and go where he's going.
A bunch of aristocrats they are. Their words mean little. But within a week, they'll be talking about something else.
It is right that they should be impressed.
Not modest.
So I'll get to like this corner, and there'll be this big crowd of like rich folk, and they'll kind of be like, and like pointing and stuff like that, and I'll pretend to stretch and just and then unfurl my wings, massive wingspan, and just stretch, and then give them a nod and carry on my way.
Yeah, as that happens, your wingspan is even more encompassing than Cassiel's. And you just hear like this gasp from amongst them. Oh, did you see that? Oh my God, this is magnificent. And you can begin to hear these excited whispers now, not as silent as they once were before.
While the crowd's gathered, Cassiel, she's not much for show, but she would say, "This is people. This is my brother, Brachiel Veron. Please treat him with respect, like he did me."
Almost immediately, as soon as you begin to engage them in conversation, they just swarm the both of you. A small crowd of these elven aristocrats mixed in with a few other varying races, some humans, but again, predominantly elves, just surround you and begin hammering you with all sorts of questions.
if I don't want them to touch me. So if people start touching my wings or anything like that, it'll be a swift glare, and if it continues, it'll be a swift flick of the wing. I don't want anyone touching me.
Yeah, there are a few that do kind of reach out tentatively to stroke your large, white, magnificent plumage.
I will turn to whichever is closest, and I will say, "I do not come up to you and touch your ears. I would appreciate if you do not touch me. You do not know who you are."
The individual kind of looks wounded before moving in once more. Says, yes, that's understandable, but it's not every day. Not every day at all that you see such a magnificent creature. I see my ears every day. I touch them every day.
Creature, I am a person.
Of course.
I'm not some sort of animal in a zoo. Do not look at me so.
Do not be so harsh with them. The people down here, these land dwellers, they don't know of our kind. They think we're some sort of divinity. They don't understand that we're just citizens of this world like they are.
They gawk like idiots. It's tiresome.
Come, before your tongue gets us into trouble, brother. And she starts to clear a way through the crowd.
Yeah, so I mean, with the sharp words of Berheil, a few of them kind of step back. A few looks of shock on their face. Not at all used to being treated, disrespected, if you will, in such a manner. But all the same, as you guys make your way through the crowd, it almost kind of closes up and kind of snakes behind you for some distance. But slowly they do begin to meander off back to their own things. Only a few individuals still following, just absolutely in awe of what they're seeing. Not one, but two of Varial.
I'll turn to Cassiel and I'll ask her, they think we're divinity of this lady of theirs?
Not of this lady herself. What I've gathered from my talks with these people is that some of our kind have come down to the land, to the land below before, and they've said that they were angels. You'll see in some of their holy books drawings of winged folk, much like you and I, with golden halos and flaming swords and the like. And I think largely it's our people's fault.
So you'll see a wicked smile come across Barheel's face at this idea, and he will stop and he will turn at the ones who are still following, and he will say, "Come closer, kneel."
So you see a couple that kind of look at each other hesitantly for a minute, and then there's a shared smile. It's a pair of women, actually, and they approach and kind of drop down to one knee, these gleeful, almost hopeful looks in their eyes as if they're about to be blessed by some sort of divine creature.
Do we have our own language, the Avaria?
Absolutely.
Okay.
What is your language that you speak?
I figure it's kind of musical, lyrical. Definitely sounds. It's not guttural, I wouldn't think.
Perhaps something akin to like almost Tolkien, like Elvish, very fluid and nice. Okay, absolutely.
So I will go up to these women and I will just gently touch their faces, and I will say in a Avario, "Both of you disgust me. Get out of my sight." But I'll say it in a very like sort of way, and pretend to bless them.
Yeah, it just the language just sounds as flowery and beautiful. Even insults just sound like grand things, and you hear some laughter issuing forth, and they look almost giddy at this point, like schoolgirls, if you will, as they stand and turn, wrapping, taking each other's arm in kind, and just begin to gossip amongst ourselves. And you hear something about how surely their dreams will come true. You know, their wishes as they kind of fade off now.
So he'll
Was
turn
that
around to Conceal
necessary?
and give her a wink.
I don't see how that was necessary, brother.
It
But you
was
did make
funny.
those women's day.
Exactly. It was fun for me and fun for them. I mean, we are clearly superior to these people. We might as well make the most of it.
Let me show you around at the guild. I need to I need to meet with the guild master before this gala, and then we'll meet back up with Thalanor and Tomak. I'm sure you'll get along, and their new friend who I haven't quite developed an opinion of yet.
Okay. I'll
Fellow
reserve
members of the
judgment.
guild, we've been the rest of the guild. They're more of these elf aristocrats, bored, haughty, not really good for much of anything else. We're trying to actually make something of this guild. Um, for Thalanor, I think it may be out of boredom, but for me, it's because I think this guild has secrets, things I must know.
I'm glad to see that you're still so keen on secrets and learning. It's an important um, aspect of you, and I'm glad that it's still here.
Oh, of course, of course. Um, I learned the healing arts from the holy consorts of the evening glory, along with a couple other things as well, since I last saw you.
Excellent. We'll have to discuss that at length at some time. I have designs on perhaps learning such, but all in time.
So, you know, as you two are talking amongst each other and making your way to the guild hall, once more you hear Cassio. So, this is your brother, hmm? The one who couldn't even give you a moment of his time, showed you no respect, treated you as a lesser creature. Hmm.
You remember well from our talks in Spellbinder and Ailey's study.
Yes, well, it looks as though from his little conversation with those two innocent girls, he hasn't changed much, has he? And the voice just fades away.
Come,
So,
brother.
so you guys find yourself back in the guild hall. Um, where would everyone else be at this time? We'll go through one by one and catch you guys up. So, Thalanor, you had some business to take care of, yes?
Yeah, I'd be returning to the guild hall to go back to my room to prepare, so I might actually run into them as I'm like entering.
Okay. And what about you, Azazel?
So Azazel is at the brothel, and he's standing in a doorway. And as the door opens, a beautiful, lithe woman with flowing blonde hair enters, and she gives him a kiss and walks to the far corner of this luxurious rug. And another woman comes in, and this happens 20 times. And he comes and he sits on a giant pillow as the women walk in front of him, back and forth, modeling their bodies. And he says, "Yes, I think I'll take this one and this one and those two." And you see him leave the brothel with four women, two under each arm, as he makes his way towards the gala in his fine dress.
All right, fantastic. And what about Tomak? Might want to unmute yourself.
You're still
Tomak, you're
muted.
muted.
You're still muted.
God damn it. So after he left from the group of people, he went outside the city borders, being more of the land and knowing that and thinking to himself that anyone could bring just flowers from a vendor that's on the bustling streets. He went to actually go like around the forest area, like outside of the town, to pick his own, and then come back to the um, the guild hall in search of Vivian.
All right. So as you, Thalanor, and Tomak are in the guild hall, the door is open, and entering is the familiar sight of Cassiel. Uh, perhaps one moment it looks as though Lloyd stepped away.
Cassiel, she steps in and she has this giant U-shaped wire-wrapped thing just covered in the little mechanical hornets, and they're quivering, and like their legs are like moving, and their wings are trying to flap, and they're kind of buzzing.
So, yes, and behind her is the most peculiar sight.
Sorry. Yeah, so I'll just walk in extremely confident. After my experience in the city, I'm assuming that everybody here is just going to worship me. So I've got my shield, my big circular shield across my back, and spear lodged in there as well. And I'll just walk in and kind of take a look around, sniff the air, make a face.
I'm leaning against the wall. I've got this dark wood cane with this ornate wolf head on top of it, white gloves on top of the black wood. It looks extremely fetching. This long, glorious black coat, gold buttons, gold frills, like a white frock coming off of the hand. And I just kind of fold my arms, I lean against the wall, and I see you two enter, and my hand goes up to my chin and starts stroking it. My God. We are going to need more stone.
So if you look at Barahil, he's got like this armor straight out of the history books. You know, it's like a muscled cuirass, and he's got like greaves and one of those sort of I don't even know what they're called, but like the sort of brass strip skirts.
Vanguard? No, never mind.
Yeah, something like that. It's you know what a Greek warrior would wear. So he's got this really classical looking armor, physique like you wouldn't believe, perfect ivory skin, long flowing blonde hair, piercing blue eyes. So he's just an Adonis of a man. And he'll kind of look around and just kind of be unimpressed with everything he sees.
So I will walk forward, and as I actually step away from the wall, my shadow remains leaning and looking at you. It doesn't follow me. It just stays there attached in position. And I slowly creak across the floor, holding up my cane and kind of giving you a little salute with it. And I say, Thalanor, pleased to meet you. Are you related to Cassiel?
I am. My name's Barahil.
Barahil. As he lets it like roll off the tongue.
That's close. It's Barahil.
Barahil.
There we go. I knew you could do it.
Barahil. And he lets it go a couple of times.
So you're in Thalanor. Cassiel has told me something about you. You appear to be trustworthy and forthright gentleman.
Yes, an artist. Artists tend to wear their colors on their lapels, I guess.
That's a noble profession, certainly.
Sculptor. I like to immortalize people in stone. I was actually in the process of creating a statue of your sister.
So you see his eyes kind of like narrow just for a second, and then he kind of shakes it away. of my sister.
Indeed.
Interesting.
I've never seen one of your kind until I met her, but she is not like this. And he's slowly panning from your toes to your thighs to your lats, just going up your side profile, and then the eyes kind of hanging and dangling while it's looking at your wings, and you can see his like mouth actually gape a little bit.
And I'll just turn to Casil and say, are they all like this?
He's a
Black-jawed
bit of an
yokels.
aesthete himself. He's hung up on beauty of all sorts, apparently. And she brings the attention to this huge magnet she has heft under her arm. By the way, I solved our hornet problem.
Not now, Cassiel, not now. And I began like a half walk around you, like studying with the artist's eye, trying to see like how I could put you into stone.
This would not be the first sculptor who has, what would the word be? Appraised me so.
Yes, Nuradelia is full of the sculptures of Barachiel. Anyway, I need to get ready for this gala, and I need to find a good place for these little critters, so please, I'll dismiss myself. Enjoy your talks.
As she drags away this massive magnet
And
this
the
huge
fucking
nest.
giant brass hive as well.
Fireheel making no attempt to help.
Seeing the little like pomp and circumstance to the way you move, like the way you present yourself, Barachiel, Thalanor will say, the thing with beauty, not all beings are created equal. And he's still continuing this semicircle walk around you. People of this village, of this town, of this kingdom are gorgeous by normal being standards. But you dwarf them.
You echo my own thoughts.
So what god carved you from the stone? Tell me, I have to know. Are you going to the ball tonight?
Well, I was planning on going wherever my sister goes, so I suppose I'll make an appearance.
Give you a chance to survey my work. I've carved a grand statue of the goddess in the town square. They've talked about it for decades.
Yes, perhaps I'll praise your work as you have appraised me, and perhaps we can reach some sort of agreement.
Indeed. The opportunity to put you to stone, I think it would be beneficial for the both of us.
Yes, it's been a long time since someone made a statue of me. I think it's about time.
So I like look over my shoulder at this point, thinking Tomok's kind of like lingering.
Tomok putting the flowers away and walking around, he does come up on Valinor and this now winged what looks to be a god in front of him. Just Tomok being a little impressed, but keeping it to himself. He understands the fact of many gods and the idea that his is more of a primal being than of this knighted armor angelic being. I see our guild is getting some improvement. He looks to Valinor and then back to this guy, awkwardly, not knowing how to approach him.
So Barheel will like just step forward quite close and like look up and down, like inspecting as if you were like some sort of horse or something. Yeah. Like kind of look around and and then he'll like reach out and grab the face and try and like open your mouth to see if like what the teeth are like.
Tomok
I don't know if you'll allow that.
he pushes your hand away with his back of his hand, and he steps back a little bit. His legs, while you were observing him, kind of like anxiously moved, but now he stands more comfortable, like a little farther away from both of you. Like, I
I've not
don't
seen one of
touch
you
your
before.
lips. Why would you touch my mouth?
I'm curious. What? I've never seen something like you before. Interesting. There's a sort of primal nobility about it, I suppose.
Why, thank you.
Hmm.
I'm sure. I'm sure it's needless to say that uh, a creature of your stature, often looked to as a god.
Yes, don't
You,
hurt yourself trying to find the words.
When Thalnor hears there's a kind of primal nobility about you, I suppose, I have a flashback. Shh. I'm standing in the woods outside of Holwind. These old, disgusting-looking men in regal robes, ordained with like knights' colors and other ornate fare, have come into the woods to talk to the elven tribes. And the king walks forward, spitting from his mouth, frail, very, very sickly looking, hobbling basically because of how bad his health is. Just a monstrous looking being. And he looks at the elves wearing rock and bone and shell and all manner of forest decoration, and he says, kind of primal nobility to them. Spits on the ground. I suppose. And I'm standing there, and for a minute you can see a little bit of a twitch.
so, Thalano, where did you find this one? Exactly. Where did you find it?
I did not find anyone. This is Casil's brother.
Ah, he he connects it in the brain. He understands that there's obviously have to be more of her. So, what do we owe the pleasure, or are you just strictly here for her?
So he introduces himself. He says, "My name is Barahil Verion Nurandalia, and I'm here to take care of my sister, to ensure. Well, I'll explain that later. But I'm here to take care of my sister."
Well, it's a pleasure to meet you, Bahil. And he kind of like mumbles with the rest of it as like he couldn't form all of this. My name is Tamak, a Umik ambassador for my tribe, and he pulls out his hand in front of him towards the
Yeah.
Avarian warrior.
So Barahil will say, "How quaint, Tomac," and then he'll reach out and shake hands.
He gives him a firm handshake and then brings back his hand to his side.
So
Now,
around this time, you'll see Azazel start approaching you with two women under each arm. And the girls look over at this angelic being, and they start giggling, and pink goes their nose, their cheeks, the tips of their ears. And Azazel just lets his arms fall off of them as he approaches Thalinor. He looks quickly over at this angelic creature, nods his hat, but says nothing. Moves to Thalinor and very softly says, "Did you tell him anything of the map?"
So as you approach, Thalnor raises his hand with the staff in it, saluting the girls, and he goes, "Scarlet, Alira, Sariel, Clara, what do I owe the pleasure?"
They told me their names were Ariel, Veronica, Christina. Perhaps they have many names.
He just shakes his head. Never trust a consort.
And
Unless...
I see the girls, they start to approach the angel and surrounding him. So, more to business. Have we found anything else about this map?
The Barhill, surrounded by these girls, begins to turn on the charm, and he's using his angelic presence as much as possible in this. So he's, occasionally just like shifts his wings a little bit, and he's, chatting quietly. And again, he'll like put his hand on their face and say, "Hello, my name is Barhill Varion Nurendalia. I am a warrior from the sky." Just the most utter nonsense.
I'll walk over to him and say, "They were just sucking cock about 5 minutes ago, so I don't really know how far you want to go with this." And I will turn back to Thalanor.
Azazel, come here for a moment.
It's kind of like turn around, the guy's already gone, and I'm like,
What is it? What is it, Thalanor?
The one with the red hair, the one that told you her name is Alira. Watch yourself. She's an infamous thief.
I pat my pants. She's already gotten the best treasure.
Aye. She is a good bed. I will tell you that much.
Where is and I'm looking around, distracted. Where's the creature with the black wings, the black wings? And I rub my finger over the feather in my hat.
Cassiel is upstairs talking to Jokar.
Oh, well, would you mind taking these ladies to the ball? I'm going to see if I can't find Cassiel.
so
And I will make my way while the women surround the angel, and I will leave Thalanor.
Thalanor will actually leave the women as well with with Borachael, and he's going up to his room to freshen up.
realizing that these women are in fact consorts and not noble women, his nose will wrinkle in disgust, and he will look at them and just step away from me. So his manner instantly changes from sort of amicable and charming to quite frightening, and he just becomes quite threatening very suddenly, and is insisting that they leave.
Yeah, they look rather offended as well. The sudden shift in your mannerisms, and they step back, and their polite smiles and courteous head nods as they listen to you just change instantly into like piercing glares and looks of disgust and anger.
Yeah, I mean, he'll say, "I will have nothing to do with night walkers, women of the night. No interest. Step away. You are impure."
Mark laughs at this spectacle as you've treated a pampered society. And he looks away, and as he sees Azazel walking, he just passes up Azazel and Thalnor looking for Vivian's room again. He pats Azazel like just casually and says, "Best of luck." And he lets out a hearty laugh as he walks down to Vivian's room. Eventually get to the door, and
So a few moments go by, and the door opens, and you see the familiar sight of Vivian in casual wear at the moment. Her eyes just traditionally kind of narrowed, seem to just diminish down into like these thin piercing slits. Yes.
he looks to her, pulling out these flowers that he handpicked just kind of like bundled up together. And he says to her, "I was wondering if you were attending the ball happening tonight."
Yes, I see you've learned how to read a calendar. Excellent. Very proud of you. I do have some business to take care of at the ball, none of which concerns you. Is there anything I can help you with?
None of it concerns me. I would hope that you could take these off my hands then. And he hands the flowers off to her. And
As you kind of reach out with the flowers, you see her leg move over to the side for just a moment and come back into view, sliding with it behind her foot a wastebasket.
Tamak just looks at his rental and he, at first, thick-headed to the idea. He understands that this woman is clearly all business. And he says, "Hopefully I will see you at the ball then." And he backs out and he leaves.
Yes, well, we clearly have different forms of hope that we see. And the door shuts behind you.
I make it up to Cassiel's room. Cassiel. Cassiel, are you there?
She answers the door. You see, she answers the door. There's a small wooden desk, a chair, not much else. A candle on the desk. You see a cold bottle of milk on the table, and you see a saucer by the window, but you don't really see. You don't. It just seems kind of strange there. And she has you see like on the floor this like enormous like oblong, almost like egg-shaped brass and copper thing, and this magnet, this large U-shaped metal rod with copper wire all around it, all these little twitching bugs kind of buzzing, their wings fluttering.
Cassiel, may I come in?
Yes, certainly.
I walk through the door. From my cloak, I take out a single rose, and I lay it on the desk. A single rose, for I hope to be a single lady. Tell me, Cassiel, what is this contraption?
Hecatrice, the gnome, the little tinkerer at the edge of town, he made these things, and then absentmindedly let them go about their own business. They started attacking the citizens of Kenthar, and I, with the help of my brother, who just appeared and is garnering so much attention, we rounded them up, and I plan to use them as a defense for the guild.
I step over to them. I crouch down. I let my fingers run over their buzzing wings. How does it all work?
Clever clockwork, and I'm sure a bit of magic, but I haven't discovered quite what yet. I haven't had full time to look at it. I wanted to install them before I went to Jokar and Vivian to let them know of what we found.
You see my finger moving in slow motion. What does this button do?
Don't you touch it! Don't you touch that!
What? I look up at you. You're scorn on your face. Why? What does it do?
It'll release them.
It's getting closer and closer. I withdraw my hand. This could be interesting. Do you ever pull pranks?
Pranks?
Because I stand up now. I come closer to you. It seems like your brother's always getting the attention. Tell me,
He always has.
Did you ever pull pranks on him as a young girl?
No, not really. I spent most of my time in the libraries, the vast libraries of Nurendalia. I didn't concern myself with his business.
I walk over. There's a small box. We could put these inside this box and offer it as a present. And when it opens up, what do you think?
If he's anything like the man I grew up with, he won't appreciate such jests.
Well, it's about time for him to grow up, don't you think? Well, are you ready for the ball tonight?
She's wearing like tunic and breeches. No, my dress is at the temple. I just haven't had time.
Well, may I escort you?
To the temple or to the ball?
Well, I can walk you to the temple and then walk you to the gala if you wish.
No, thank you. Thank you for the offer. I really need to get these things sorted out. But I will see you at the gala for sure, for definitely.
I say, are you afraid of your brother seeing you with me?
No, I don't really care what Barakiel thinks. I can't leave these stinging, biting things here on the floor of my room. Not with guild members around.
Well,
I have to.
I can watch them for you.
Her eyes kind of narrow a bit. How would you watch them if you were going to escort me, sir?
Well, I'm sorry. I didn't want to impose, but I thought you just said that you didn't want me to escort you. If that's changed, then all better.
She looks over your new digs, your green on green suit and your burgundy cloak, and she's like, "Well, if you don't mind, I mean, I could use a little help installing this if you wouldn't mind. I see you are in finery, so I understand if you must decline, but I really must get these sorted out."
I take off my gloves, finger by finger. The soft leather is supple on my hands. I roll up my sleeves. Of course I can help you.
Perfect. She puts on like the goggles that she stole from the little gnome, or rather just did not give back. And she gets to work immediately on trying to get open this big brass and copper hive. And she's like, "Can you hand me that screwdriver, please?" She points to like a bunch of old rusty tools in the corner.
I walk over to it. I grab the whole tool case and I bring it over. I find the screwdriver. I throw it up in the air. It spins 3 times. I catch it and I hand it to her.
And she oh, well, thank you. Quite nimble you are.
And I of course, I smile like out of the corner of my eye. Maybe we need to start wrapping it up here a little bit. Is there any treasury where we could keep these wasps, or they would be protected? A vault, or a gate, or maybe in...
Well, if you're worried about being punctual, you can be on your way. However, I have many things to learn before tonight.
I see. Well, I stand up and I take the rose that I brought into the room and I put it into the milk bottle and I make my way. And right before I go, I say, well, I'll keep an eye out for you tonight. Have fun with your investigations. And I'll close the door and make my way back down.
Heath, can I get into this thing?
Yeah, it's opening it up is a fairly tedious task. Lots of small screws, but soon enough, you do manage to pop the top on this thing. Inside is a bunch of really interesting, really peculiar mechanisms. Upon inspection, you see like installed in the top of this is what looks to be some sort of disc of sorts that's glowing lightly, most prominently from the various small ruins that are etched around its circumference. And inside, it looks like there's like all these little tiny hands that are kind of moving about. And you even notice that there is two things that kind of stand out. One is this small little brass rod. Affixed to the top of it is another disc that looks as though it mirrors the one installed in the top. And one of the wasps that is inside of there, which looks broken, appears to be being knitted or stitched back together by these little tiny hands, grabbing pieces, fitting them together, just with machine-like precision. A few moments go by, and a whole wasp is standing inside this nest once more.
How fascinating. I've never seen anything like this. But there's the magic I was looking for. She's gonna reach in gently. She's gonna the rod in the disc.
Mm-hmm.
Does it come out?
Yeah, it's just laying in there as if placed in there by some forgetful individual and built around.
I'll take the rod and disc. I will examine it closely. Look at the runes for a second. Can I figure out its use? Can I figure out how to use it?
With a bit of dabbling, of course. As you go in to grab the rod, you see that the one wasp in there kind of buzzes up and makes as if it's going to sting you. But as soon as you come in contact with it, it stops and just lazily buzzes about. And you see that there's a few rings or some such like around the top, as if they can move back and forth. Again, with these symbols carved into them, like you can place them in certain patterns.
On the actual object itself.
Yes, on the what you probably recognize as the control rod that Hecaterus was talking about.
I'm going to with the control rod in my hand, I'm gonna go over to the magnet and turn it off. And then I'm going to move the rings as the wasps start to like unconnect from the magnet.
Yes, so as you turn it off and the magnetic energy begins to subside, just this cloud of these clockwork wasps just fills the room, swarming around the area. But you are safe, as if in the eye of a tornado. And as you begin to fiddle with these different rings, the wasps take on, it looks like, varying different patterns of movement as they swarm around and congeal into different shapes as different combinations are pressed.
I'm going to try to see if I can figure out how to get them to all enter the hive.
Sure. So it takes a bit of time. You know absolutely nothing about this thing. And perhaps you begin to lose track of time and while you're playing with this, and the gala has begun. But eventually you do figure out the particular combination to get them all back into the nest. And when they do, they all fit in there tight and compact, like little drones waiting to be deployed. And these little arms are going around pruning and fixing any of them that appears as though it needs it.
I'm going to step out. I'm going to take the hive with them in it, and I'll screw it shut on all sides. I'm sure they have a hole to get out of, and I'm going to creep out the window onto a branch, probably probably on the tree, a tree next to the guild, and not on the guild's tree itself.
Mm-hmm.
With some rope, I'm going to tie the broken branch that I hacked off to a living branch.
Sure.
And I'm going to leave the control in my room set at dormant mode for right now. I'm going to close the window tight, and I'm going to take the rose out of the milk, leave it on the desk, and pour milk into the saucer.
Excellent. You can hear the sounds of festivities kind of wafting through the air, making their way into the room, and see, different bright, vibrant lights and, some minor magical displays, kind of happening off in the distance as well.
Shit. I'm late for that gala. And she will leave through the door and lock it behind her. And she's gonna fly into town. Try to enter the temple from a discreet location where they're not partying, probably through like the servants or what have you, like back door, and try to get dressed in a quick manner to join the gala.
Absolutely. So, the gala has started. What is everybody up to?
Thalanor arrives fairly early. He meets up with his escort Sidonia, who is tall, fair, elven woman who wears a silk scarf tightly wrapped around her neck to hide the constantly opened wound that Thalanor inflicts on her to draw out the bloody essence that he needs to survive. Being an artist, Thalanor is very disenchanted with gatherings. He's anxious to be there, but he always goes. So he's hanging out around his statue, the grand statue of the goddess, which he commissioned for the temple and made 80, 90 years ago at this point. It's been quite a while. It was in a different life for him almost. But he's making a little bit of small talk with some of the patrons, telling them about the stone that he used, the techniques that he used to carve it, the inspiration, general artist type of things.
I went to the tailor and got my suit. I'm coming in a little bit late, as per usual, to what has happened. And as I come into the area, I see just everyone talking and amongst themselves. Some to Thalanor, who I see by the statue. Some here and there giving me a glance, but after the current patrons that they've now collected into the city, I'm the least to be heard about. And I walk over to Thalanor, and I just say, how's everything going with you tonight so far?
You see Sidonia wrapped tightly around his right arm. He's walking on this ornate cane that he's picked up. And as you approach and say that, he kind of ushers you into the group conversation. This is the gentleman I was actually telling you about. He is an Umik ambassador. And he says it, letting ambassador linger a bit, like it's this exotic individual that he's found. Tamak, what is it exactly that your tribe is most concerned with at the moment? Why these sudden diplomatic relations? And he cascades his hand back, drawing you into this political discussion.
Mock kind of fixes himself, picks up this hand-tailored suit that's been made for him, of these dark earthy colors with like hints of like blue and stuff, giving off a little pop to his tribal around his neck and down his body, but that's covered up by the suit. And you see, recent discoveries from one of the neighboring cities is there over imbuing the land with cutting down these trees, and it's greatly tolling the area. I just want to put forth and let the people know that there are other civilizations out there that are not for this deforestation, if you will, and these mass killings, and make sure that everyone is equal with their civilizations, but also equal with the land that they are currently on.
Now, one of the gentlemen that's in the conversation is a human. So I'll actually turn to him and a little bit scathingly say, yes, the deforestation, the young king of Hopeland seems to be extending himself quite a bit these days.
Yes, well, the young king has a lot on his shoulders. Big shoes to fill his father left him, indeed. Sometimes things must be done. Drastic measures must be taken to secure your seat of power. You have to respect that.
Ah, yes, it is quite a thing the young king did. Quite a thing.
Looks to this human. It's hard to respect someone who just innocently kills thousands upon thousands of trees and wildlife. Certainly, the same respect for a killer.
Well, surely if the trees had a problem with it, they'd speak up, and they have yet to come forth.
You know, I have heard rumors lately of a blockade at Anchor Point. Some say the young king is involved. And I'm kind of leering at him, studying him, looking for him to flinch.
He's fairly stern. He just kind of, reverts his gaze to you. Says, well, I can't say that I know anything about that. I can't claim that the young king is responsible for this. However, the flags that those ships fly do not belong to the city of Holland.
So what you're telling me is that the young king is just in the right place at the right time.
Well, it would appear that sometimes good fortune does fall into the laps of the deserving, does it not?
How can I argue with that? And the young king goes unchecked by all. Kenthar does nothing. The other cities to the west do nothing. What of your people, Tamak? And I turn and I look at him. Will the Umik raise a hand against Wholewind?
He looks with little distaste in how the conversation has been going, certainly striking a nerve with him. Certainly, you can't think that we would just stand by, now would you?
Well, you have been, have you not?
To the eyes of the civilized and to the eyes of the ignorant, maybe. But no one is a ways away from my home. We do keep it more amongst the higher ups.
To the eyes of the civilized, is that what you said, and the ignorant? Are you implying that there's some type of shadowy acts taking place behind the curtain?
When you say behind the curtain, my hand goes behind Sidonia and like gooses up the side of her thigh into her lower back, and you see her shudder a bit with ecstasy and let out a little bit of a moan.
I'm not saying anything of a shadowy attack.
If he noticed, he just continues to act as though he didn't. More interested in what this Umic ambassador has to say.
He looks at Thanor and he attempts to politely leave the conversation. Thank you, my friend, for introducing me, but I think I'm going to mingle elsewhere.
Yes, he who speaks does not know. He who knows does not speak. Interesting. And he turns his attention back to you, Thalanor, and engages you in conversation. So what is it Azazel is doing at this time that the gala has started?
Zazel is by a fence, and he's staring off into the water 1,000 miles away. On the horizon, storm clouds are brewing. There are purple and yellow lightning sizzling over the tops of the waves. And he's back again with the pirates. And they're saying, orders! Orders! Burn them. Burn them all, Azazel says, as he makes a fist in his hand. And then there's a small man to his shoulder saying, order, sir. Here's your order. Here's your champagne. He picks up the glass, takes a sip, and just drops it on the ground. It smashes everywhere. The man looks appalled, and he goes, "Oh, I'm quite sorry there, my good man. All apologies."
Excellent. And what about Barachiel?
So he's definitely trying to avoid people. He's not keen on people generally. So he's been looking at the statue and he's been pretty impressed by it. He's just kind of people watching, seeing how these little unimportant people are interacting, and like noticing the snobbery and the sort of two-facedness and fakeness of their conversations. Kind of lots of passive-aggressive barbs and stuff like that being thrown around. And he's just not impressed.
So, some time has passed since the the gala has started. You've all been there for it's a half hour to an hour or so, and that's when Cassiel arrives.
She comes out of the I guess the front entryway of the temple, if it's in the square, if the gala is in the square around the statue, wearing a backless gown in the elven style of a midnight blue, almost black samite with a silver thread warp going through the deep blue. The bodice is adorned with moonstones and shimmering crystals. The bottom of the gown almost seems to wisp away to nothing. The silk of the samite is just so fine. The back is rather daring. It goes all the way down to the small of her back, and to protect from unwanted wardrobe malfunctions, there's the finest silver chains connecting it underneath her wings. Her silvery hair is done up rather hastily in something that looks kind of like a messy updo. No makeup, completely all natural in the face. Silk stockings and matching deep blue fine slippers. She looks a little perturbed by the amount of people. She almost didn't expect such a huge turnout. She sees Thalanor and the Umik near the fountain and Brachiel not too far away, and approaches. If when they look closely, they see on the right on the neckline, almost looks like a brooch. The one single hornet from the hive, which she uncovered when she opened it, sits there, super still. Its wings maybe flapping once in a while. Good evening, friends. I'm sorry for my tardiness. I got caught up in things.
There's a decent gathering too around this new oddity that's made its way into town, which is your brother. He looks a bit uncomfortable, perhaps.
He's also made no attempt to like dress differently. He's still in armor, stuff like that. He just doesn't have any of the clothes, so he's just in the same clothes that he arrived in.
Brother, over here. She would call to him when he looks a little lost.
He'll say to the crowd, "Excuse me," and then just.
Yes, they back away, and you hear your brother. I told you it was another brother. I called it.
Cassiel, I'm glad that you're here. I'm somewhat lost.
Have you had any of the refreshments yet, brother? The wine is fantastic. They sweeten it with Blue Lotus. Very relaxing.
I do not partake in such. Not for a long time.
So at this time, Azazel will see that Cassiel has made it, and he will make a beeline over to her. And he pulls out a little tiny piece of paper, and it smells like agar wood and cinnamon. And he places it into her hand. And if she should so happen to read it, let me know, and I will tell you what it says. And then he does a little nod towards her brother and walks away.
Not sure about that one.
Eleanor, your friend, he sure is interesting.
He is not my friend. He brought to me a supply of stone. I actually do not know him, only by reputation, but it seems decent enough.
And Tomac, how does this evening find you? Oh, he's not there.
He's lost in thought.
She would kind of cover her mouth a little bit and speak to Thalnor. He looks a bit incongruous in that frilly coat.
Yeah, I know.
If you could have imagined with me, if you will, Beauty and the Beast, much like the Beast, just this upper torso with this big dovetail, massive coat, very very out of sorts. Does it look?
Cassiel.
He seems to wear it with some pride, though.
Cassiel, enough about the Umik. What is that Azazel handed to you? And a smile like cresses across his face, and he looks at Barachael.
Completely, oblivious to the idea of love letters and things like that. She would open it and read it out loud.
So it says, I do not know which to prefer, the beauty of inflections or the beauty of innuendos, the blackbird whistling or just after. Azazel.
So Barahil doesn't get it at all. He just doesn't understand what the fuck is happening. He's like, is he some sort of idiot?
It seems to be a poem of sorts, dear brother.
Poetry from a man.
Thalnor covers his face and laughs, trying to veil it.
She blushes, kind of regretting putting her hair up because she can't hide behind it. Well, I do need some of that wine myself, thank you. And you see her walk off to one of the serving women, grabbing a flute of wine and drinking it quickly.
I will say to Barachael, Seems this Azazel gentleman is rather smitten with your sister.
That will go no further, I can tell you that much.
These pirates, they think they can plunder whatever they want. There will be a confrontation.
I know they're kind. All bluster. I'm not afraid.
And Sidonia is kind of like looking up off my arm at you, a little bit starstruck, and I hit her with my shoulder a bit and say, "Don't gawk. It's rude."
At the mention, Berachil, that you're unafraid, for a moment, an image comes flooding back to you. What is that image exactly?
So it's a thing that I am afraid of, and it's this moment when myself and the Phoenician guard, the high elite of the Avarial tribe that I was a part of, were exploring a city in the sky, and we find this incredible treasure trove, and we're kind of sifting through it, and we're cheering and delighted with the fact that we found so much ancient scrolls, relics, all sorts of incredible treasure. And just then, two of the Phoenicians turn a corner and then come running back, and then this wave of greenish flame just envelops them, and they're gone. And just fire is everywhere and panic, and I leap from the edge of the city and plummet towards the ground. And my eyes glaze over for a second, and then I recover with a quick shake of the head, and I try and turn that shake of the head to a nod towards this Sidonia woman, since I've kind of been introduced there.
Castiel returns after hastily drinking 2 flutes of wine and a third in her hand, and she says, "Falnor, really, I must. These machines, they're really ingenious. Actually, I installed them around the guild as a defense, and the one that was on her, like near her collar, is now like sitting in her hair almost like a hairpin." And she doesn't even realize that one's there. She's like, there's this rod, and it controls them, and they can form all sorts of shapes, and it's really, really ingenious magic.
So that old little fat pudgy gnome gave you his rod.
No, he misplaced it. I had to dig it out of the hive.
Oh, so they were his though. He made those hornets?
Yes, he did, and he forgot about them, the weird little man he is.
Oh, he seemed fairly belligerent. What was the payment for that?
Nothing at all. He said that he would come and study him on occasion, and I said that's fine, but he really wasn't. He really was very, very occupied with some glowing brass cylinder.
Well, they seem like they'll do a good job defending the guild hall at least. Now we just need to worry about making the guild hall so glorious someone would want to raid it.
She smiles at that. 'Tis true, 'tis true. But maybe this treasure map will help us with that.
Treasure map?
Yes, indeed. Azazel and Thalnor found it, I suppose, right?
Indeed, it was actually Azazel.
I've been known to hunt treasure in my time. In fact, I spent many years doing it.
I will reach into my coat and pull out the little piece of vellum, and discreetly I'll hand it out for Barahael to take it.
At this, Azazel has been watching them and raises an eyebrow. Grimaces.
So he'll very intently look at this map and try and memorize what bits he can. Seems interesting.
Azazel says under his breath, "I didn't know he could read."
Sidonia, you're looking especially pale and lovely tonight.
Hmm?
She said something Sidonia in
I'll let
passing.
I'll let you narrate Sidonia, Heath.
Yes, thank you. As always, Cassiel, you are ravishing. I pale in comparison to you.
Well, we don't
Looking
have to
over
speak untruths here. He
looking over
said
the
to
back
Jay.
of her head when she says that, I nod at you.
And what a lovely scarf.
She kind of, runs her hand through it and takes it up. Beautiful silk embroidery. Yes, it is. Thank you. I'm glad you noticed.
A gift from Felinor?
Oh, I can't kiss and tell. You know how it is.
What are you implying by that?
Brachio. They nursed me back to health when I was found in the ocean after my run-in with the gargoyles. That's all. I've been living at the temple among them, but I don't practice their religion, if you understand what I'm saying.
Good.
I give Sidonia what the fuck eyes. I give her eyes that are like, you're fucking embarrassing me.
I says, well, you're, under this, weighty gaze of Thalinor, she tries to quickly change the conversation. Your glasses look empty. Would anybody like a drink? I'll happily fetch some refreshments.
Cassiel downs her third glass of this lotus wine and asks for another. Now the flush is not so much a situational thing, but her cheeks are a little bit flushed all of the time. She says, "Come. Normally outsiders aren't allowed to see it, but I don't think they'll have a problem. Let me show you guys the sacred baths."
There's an eyebrow raised shockingly high from Baraheel. Very
They're
well.
quite lovely.
Ah, I've never seen them, but I hear that they're made out of marble.
The basins themselves are marble, but the flagstones are a dark stone. I'm not sure which. Maybe you know, being a sculptor. And she would lead them like in through the temple to like the bathing courtyard.
Going to a place I've never been before, I would very carefully unbuckle the flap over my mangosh, which is my new killing weapon of choice for people too poor to receive my fancy blade.
Yeah, so
There's
totally
about
unaware or uncaring of the fact that there might be a threat in here. Baraheel is just casually, happily walking in that direction.
So, as you guys are moving in there and you unbuckle the flap to this Mangoosh Thalinor, uh, suddenly there's just this strange notion in your head, followed by, I believe, a quadruple somersault with a flourish will suffice. Come on now, if you will. The people will love it! You're muted.
What is this will that has invaded my consciousness? Perhaps I should oblige. Walking up the stairs, I will do a little bit of a kickflip off the top step.
All right, fantastic.
You want me to do some dexterity?
Yeah, if you want to do Dex acrobatics focus, if you have
Yeah. Whoop. Because when I land this, I want to earn it.
it.
11. Oh wait, no, sorry, 14.
All right, that'll suffice.
Okay, so when I hit the top step, you see me just do this unnatural looking flip. My drapes on the back of my coat flying, my cape just puckering and floating on the wind. Both hands out long, and then landing with my cane. I give it a little bit of a flip and keep walking.
Magnificent.
What do you want from me, voice?
Grander displays.
What? My eyes go down to my side, and I look at the man gauche. What are you?
What you aspire to be, of course. Magnificent.
Silence.
Cassiel's with the rest of the crowd who are walking up the stairs, clapping.
I buckle the strap back over it.
As you do that, it's like any residual sound just almost fades, as if moving down a long hallway.
I get this notion that I'm gonna have to go back and visit Rockthar, because this is pretty fucked up trinket that he's given me. What in the world?
So, as you guys make your way to the bathhouses, what is Azazel doing this whole time as they leave the gala?
He's slinking in the shadows behind them, weary about the treasure map that he just saw pass to Barahil.
Is it? Are you trying to be
Yes.
stealthy or?
Yes.
Okay. Why don't you let me get a dexterity stealth focus if you have it.
Sure. That'll be a 10.
Okay. You're fairly quiet, but a few footfalls may reveal yourself. Outside of that, there's no it's just kind of like flitting on the peripherals. So in short order, you guys do find yourself in the bathhouse. Azazel will nowhere to be found, however. And as you're in there, Cassiel is showing you around. There's a few, you hear the music kind of outside to stop for a moment, and then one by one, the instruments kind of pick back up where they left off.
It's almost like a stone courtyard on the western side of the temple. The flagstones themselves are almost like shimmery black stone, kind of like how polished hematite looks, where it's dark but has that shimmery look. And then five basins, four along the outside and one central basin of marble are built into the ground. The waters are clear and cool, pouring out of spouts that are decorated to look like trumpeted flowers. Floating in the water are these blue water lilies, these blue lotuses that are perfuming the water and the air around it. This is where the priestesses do their daily oblations. I've been I've been entered into the fold, so to speak. They allow me to bathe and gossip with them.
Eleanor's mind instantly thinks, this is a good place for an orgy. And as he's like looking at the pillars and the fancy ornamentation, he has a sudden realization that it's not only like a good lounging area, it's actually pretty artistic. The craftsmanship is excellent. Not quite as good as mine, mind you, but fairly excellent.
It's
Where is
relatively deserted at night. I like to come here alone sometimes.
where is Azazel?
I lost track of our new friend.
I see like a weird figure carved on one of these pillars. It looks like a mermaid, only the fish part's reversed with the human part. It's like the bottom portion of a woman and the head and the chest of a fish. And I sit there stroking my chin looking at it. What in the world?
They say the temple was built far before the religion was established. So some of the carvings are even older than the Evening Glory herself.
Very peculiar. So I like walk around to the other side of the pillar, and then I stop, like somebody's shown headlights on a deer. My eyes widen, and I look at a carving on the other side. It's the exact same carving of the woman dancing with the man, a little figure that's on my music box. What? What is this? What is this?
They say the Evening Glory, she's going on with her spiel, her endless font of useless facts. They say the Evening Glory is a champion of love, love that even surpasses death.
And as Cassiel begins to regale you with all the tales of the Evening Glory, all these stories, um, once more, the music kind of stops, and you hear like a bit of ruckus actually coming from outside in the large courtyard where the majority of the gala is taking place.
Does it sound like trouble?
Um, Not necessarily. It's definitely odd considering it's a rather upbeat, festive event for the most part, and for the music to cut out and for like a ruckus to start, there'd have to be something happening of sorts.
All right. Well, Barkeel's bored in here anyway. He's not interested in architecture, so he's gonna walk or fly if it's quicker out of here.
Being of that I was in the crowd, like mingling with people and stuff like that, do I know what's going on?
Yeah, since you've been outside, as you were out there, you didn't really notice it before, but there's like a figure hunched, wearing rags, a cowl kind of pulled up over his head, and he's constantly moving around. On his back, there looks to be some pack or small bundle of sorts, and he looks completely out of place. And he's approached the different people, kind of reaching out this bony hand, and they are constantly like shooing him away as if he's scum. And he even makes his way to the stage at one point and asks, or looks as though he's maybe trying to talk to the band, and they all kind of stop the music for a moment and share some looks and continue on. And this happens at least twice. He goes back, to where the band is playing, and they stop again. Like one of the violins just kind of like waves the bow at him and shooing him like a dog. And as he's just weaving through the crowd, and they part as if he's carrying the plague itself.
I'm gonna go up to him and just keep like a decent distance away from him, but like still go up to him with caution and ask him what is he doing in the room.
As the first person to actually show interest in him, he immediately just kind of rushes in your direction, getting rather close. These two just thin, long, bony hands reaching out, kind of grasping for ears, and he says, I need help. I need help. No one will listen to me. Nobody."
I go, whoa, whoa, and I like take a step back, putting my hand in front of him, like not afraid to like get involved with him, just making sure that he's not going to like do anything crazy to me.
Yeah, the crowd will also noticeably like just kind of disperse, around the vicinity where you're at. Glances just kind of, leering over shoulders at you, noses in the air. Go ahead.
What happened to you? What happened? What are you having an issue with? He notices all of these like wandering glares and staring at him, and from what his tribe is used to just putting his hand out and helping. So he pays no mind to these scoffs of let the straggler or hermit or whatever he may be as he helps this guy.
Yeah, so he begins to tell you that I live not too far from here, not too far at all, in the woods, and it came in the night. It came like a shadow. It slaughtered my family. I tried. There's nothing I could do. Nothing. A poor, frail old man like me could do to stop this thing. I had to run. Oh, I felt like such a coward, but what choice did I have? What choice did I have? At this time, Barahale, you would definitely be able to arrive on the scene.
Okay, so I see everyone moving away from the eunuch and some robed man, right?
Yeah, from a top-down view, it's just like a sea of people and then this circle, like an island in the middle of these.
All right, well, I definitely have a penchant for the dramatic, so I will land right behind this guy. Huge wings kind of buffeting just before I hit the ground so I don't smash into it, and then pull my wings in and just give a look to the eunuch like, you all right?
I look to this case of showmanship of Barakiel, and I go, and I like kind of look at him, and then I look back to the sky. I'm all right. Apparently, him and his family are not, however.
As you land, it kind of startles him, and he turns like, and then scampers away, almost like as if moving behind this massive eunuch to use him as some kind of barricade. And then a moment later, he scampers hurriedly in your direction, reaching out with these just, emancipated hands, as though, just skin over bone, pale, and it's like, oh, surely, an angel. Surely you can help. Surely.
Step away. Tell me what the problem is. I might be able to help.
So he proceeds to tell you the same thing,
Yeah.
About how his family was ravaged.
What is it? What came? What did it look like?
I don't know. It came in the night. Just fangs and fury, glowing red eyes like I've never seen before, as if possessed by some unearthly force. I barely escaped with my life. Me and Tinkerbell, he says as he turns, and one in this like pack, one in his back. It's a very small pack. You see this cat looks almost sickly, fur missing, like in patches. One of its eyes is like white as if dead, and it gives just like the weakest.
We can help you. We'll find this thing, whatever it is. It seems like a good quest, don't you think?
He nods to his. I completely forget the race name. He nods to his friend, his compadre, now guild member. I don't see why we couldn't help him. I mean, I was just about to get the rest of you guys when I stumbled upon this man. Is there anything else that we should know about this other than it came in the middle of the night and killed your family?
That's all I know. I left in a panic.
I think we should get the rest of our members and set out on this excursion ASAP.
Where is this place?
So he gives you directions. It's deep in the woods surrounding Kinthar. He says that it's probably about half a day's journey on foot.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll take note of the location, and I'll tell him stay in the city, and when it's done, we'll come find you.
Oh, of course. I'm very gracious. He says, like reaching out with his hand as if to, shake yours, kind of grabbing it and giving me like one of these.
Yeah, I'll allow it for once. Guy seems to have had a pretty tough time, so I'll shake his hand and I will mutter in Avario, "You really don't smell very good," and touch his forehead, but it'll sound like a blessing.
Okay. Truly, my prayers have been answered.
So we're leaving this guy?
Yeah, I don't think we should take him with us.
Okay. As we were walking away, I looked to you in disbelief that you actually like blessed the guy after putting on the show that you have been. So what have you actually been saying to these people?
I blessed him. He believes me to be some sort of divine creature, and so even if I don't have such power, he'll feel better for it.
He looks at him with a wondering look of how to approach it, and he just decides not to. Alright. I mean, placebo. What would be that error's idea of placebo?
Yeah.
And he walks into this building looking for the rest of Elnor and Azazel.
Absolutely.
Thalnor has out, he's like taken out of his pocket some of his art tools, and he's got like one of those really thin pieces of wax paper, and he's put it up over the pillar, and he's using chalk to like create an imprint of it.
And Cassiel's just going on and on. She didn't even realize Brackhill flew off. The legend says that the Evening Glory's heart was stolen by a mortal man on several occasions, and even a woman once.
You just hear the chalk.
When she realizes you're not listening, she huffs, but comes around behind you to see what you're doing.
Sorry, I kind of became enthralled by this. Shh, 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 shh.
It is lovely, and in relief, a lovely relief.
Yes, it's ancient. Very ancient. And he gets this kind of whimsical look on his face. I wonder where this stone came from. There has to be a record of it somewhere.
If it's as old as they say, I could be lost by now.
Perhaps. And I hear footsteps.
Yep. Tomac and Becherheil are approaching from behind.
We found a man. Well, a beggar. A poor man. Something attacked his house in the forest. Killed his family. We're going to go and find out what it was. Get some vengeance for this man.
Attacked? What sort of thing?
He mentioned fangs, claws. It attacked in the night.
Red
It
eyes.
was red eyes. He was panicking, unable to recount properly what had happened.
He must have been traveling throughout the night and into the next day. He traveled a full day's journey.
I'll straighten my collar. Well, let's get out of here. I've had my fill of this fancy fare.
Yes, I
Yes.
think some time on the road would do us good.
Yes. Let's.
Mock looks around, noticing the women, holding the gaze for like just a minute, and then going back to the group.
So I've had this like little delicate glass of wine the entire time, and I pull what I lovingly call the Dracula, and I just chuck it into a fucking wall, and the glass breaks and falls into a bush.
Yes. What is a man?
Exactly.
All right. And Azazel, is there any input of yours?
I'm not there.
I thought you were lurking in the shadows.
Yeah. I mean, we don't know where you are.
All right, then. Well, all the same, with new purpose, you all begin to exit the temple. And the only thing perhaps invading your thoughts right now is the images of fangs and claws and glowing red eyes surrounded by pure blackness as you make an effort to help this man. And that is where we will end it for today, gentlemen.
All right.
Freeze frame with us all walking shoulder to shoulder down the street.
Yeah.
Yep.
Single fist raised.
So, had a ton of fun today with everybody. Absolutely looking forward to picking this up and seeing what it was that had this man in such a tizzy. So this has been Heath Warmaker, aka Gaming in Gotham. You can find me on YouTube at Gaming in Gotham. I'll pass it on to all my wonderful players who obliged me with our presence today, and let them plug anything they want to plug, say anything they got to say, and I will catch you next time. So we will start off with, directly to my left, Nicholas, a.k.a. Cassiel.
Nothing to plug except for maybe the tabletop one-shot RPG one-shot group. Lots of games going on, lots of hilarity going on. Check it out. Good folks, mostly. Awesome game, Heath. Have a great night. It was a really good time.
Fantastic. And next in line is Marco, a.k.a. Tomac.
No, nothing to really plug, but had a great time as always. Always enjoyed playing. Yeah, it was fun like always. Nothing else to Lisa.
Fantastic. And next would be Philip Posey, played as Zazel today.
Yeah, thanks for the great game, guys. It was a lot of fun. Really interested to see what's going to happen next.
Fantastic. And next is Lloyd, also known as Barahil.
Yes, Barahil, the angel. I mean, Avariel. Had a great time, super fun, and definitely looking forward to the next game.
Excellent. And last but certainly not least, Andrew, the ever-loving Fallon.
Hey guys, Andrew Knapp, SRT Joker. I got my finger in so many pies. They call me a baker, Knapp. It was a really fun game. It got a little bit slow at the end, but there was a lot of good character interactions. A very dialogue-heavy game, so it's done wonders for the setting. I think. I think the setting is getting pretty well fleshed out from these intro games. So I look very much forward to playing more. I think Heath did a really good job of GMing, and I want to thank him for running the game.
Well, thank you. I'm flattered. Yes, absolutely enjoyed all the character interactions, the intrigue we got going on, and I absolutely look forward to exploring that more next time. So, to everybody watching, thank you, and have a wonderful night.